Welcome to SicEm365 Radio.
30-10. This would be huge for Texas Tech if they can get a stop. Russell over the middle. No. Touchdown. Corey Coleman. Man, was he open in the middle of the defense. Right at the sticks.
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
When they knocked on my door, all of my dreams came true. And after all these years, I'm at home!
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
So back to business is Griffin. He's going to launch it downfield looking for Reese, and he's wide open. What did we say about quick strike? How about that?
Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
You know, it's interesting. Just about an hour and maybe 15 minutes ago or so, maybe less than that, our lineup, I thought, was pretty good. And in a matter of about 90 minutes, we've added former All-American wide receiver and Giants receiver Corey Coleman and Pro Football Hall of Fame linebacker, former Oilers great Robert Brazile. And we're about to go over the Baylor All-Decade Offensive Team here on SicEm365 Radio with Paul Catalina, Craig, and David Smoke. But some breaking news off the top of the show as Baylor football has landed a commitment from Shadow Creek quarterback Kyron Drones, who led them to the 5A Division I state championship, a dual-threat quarterback, over 3,400 yards passing, 46 touchdowns passing, ran for nearly 900 yards, and also scored 18 touchdowns. So, Craig, they got a quarterback in the class of 2021.
Yeah, they've been on the search for a quarterback for a while now. There's been various names that have been floated out there, various times where maybe momentum was leaning in the direction of a certain player, but this Kyron Drones situation has really heated up, I'd say, over the last few days, and he had made it known yesterday that he was going to be announcing his commitment pretty soon. Well, it didn't take long, and he has committed to Baylor, sending a message out in the last couple of minutes and tagging Dave Aranda and Larry Fedora and Juice Johnson, Kirk Bryant in that tweet, and saying that first, I want to give all praise and glory to God for blessing me with the ability to play the game that has opened the doors and awarded me with opportunities one could only dream of. He thanked the coaches. He thanked all those who helped him along the way and said that he is going to be committed to Baylor University, 100% committed. So Kyron Drones, quarterback, Shadow Creek, state champion, has committed to Baylor, and that gives them 9 commits now for the class of 2021.
So that's the way to start a show. Kyron Drones, we'll hear more. We'll check in, of course, with Craig and Grayson Grunhafer, Colt Barber on all of that. Kyron Jones, really spectacular. And I remember watching Shadow Creek. I didn't put a name to that until I went back and watched highlights of him. I guess it was yesterday, a couple of days ago. And he's obviously a young man that is very explosive. The all-decade offensive team. And I think the defensive team was hard enough, right?
I think the offense was a little bit easier than the defense when it came around to it because you had guys like Corey Coleman who had such fantastic bursts of stats that you can't not put them on there.
I think the offense was far easier than the defense was. The defense wasn't that difficult, and I think that there was, just certain positions here and there where maybe everybody could disagree but still have a really solid pick. And I think you could have some solid picks maybe that aren't the norm, but I think for the most part it's pretty clear-cut, except for maybe like one spot on the O-line that maybe people disagreed on. But skill-wise, I think it's pretty much on the same page.
So here's the team. Corey Coleman will join us at 3:15. We'll have Cameron Kaufhold, who was an offensive lineman, he's a second-team all-decade pick back in the early part of the decade. He'll join us at 5:30 to discuss the offensive line, and Kyle Fuller will join us tomorrow. He's a member of the Seattle Seahawks. RG3, the quarterback.
Well, he won the Heisman Trophy, so.
Yeah, Bryce Petty was good, Seth Russell was good, but RG3 is RG3. That's simple.
Shock Linwood, the all-time leading rusher by almost 1,800 yards in his career, is the running back there was push for others, whether it was Ganaway or whether it was Lake Seastrunk.
I think that was the biggest competition was Lake.
Okay. And that's why we had the poll last week as well, just to kind of get a feel for that. Now, the wide receivers, if you only take 3, considering who they've had the last decade, Kendall Wright, Corey Coleman, and Denzel Mims, which means, and Brian Etheridge did a great job again with this team in the write-ups to this team, Terrence Williams, Tevin Reese, Katie Kennan, Antoine Goodley, and you could go on. You know, Jay Lee was not going to be an all-decade guy, but very, very explosive and important. Who am I missing among the other wide receivers I just mentioned? Is there somebody else that would have been in that mix?
Not to that level, no.
Okay.
No, not to that level. I think the only question is Wright and Coleman are automatics. Anybody who doesn't have Wright or Coleman as 2 of their 3 receivers, I want what you're smoking. But outside of that third wide receiver spot, I think, is where the debate comes in. And I, for example, had Terrence Williams as my third wide receiver, not Denzel Mims. I think Denzel became a really, really good player over time. So I can certainly understand his placement on there and those who voted for him.
All right. Now you get the tight end. I voted for Jordan Niver. We remember what Art Briles said about his value when he went down with that transverse fracture.
Yeah, I would have voted for no one else but Jordan Niver.
I saw a all-decade team. I don't remember what outlet it was from, and they had like 3 tight ends for a Baylor all-decade team. Had like 3 tight ends on the first team, and one of them was Laquan McGowan, one was like Niver, and then one was like somebody else that was really random. There only needs to be one name.
Gus Penning?
It might have been Gus, maybe. But go ahead.
Fearbacher?
Maybe it
was somebody like that quite frankly, there needs to be one tight end as Jordan Niver.
The offensive line was a little bit more difficult than you think. Drango, Cyril Richardson, Danny Watkins, Kyle Fuller, and Ivory Wade. It's hard to argue with those 5. But when you look at what Blake Muir did, Philip Blake, Cameron Kaufhold, Robert T. Griffin, even currently Connor Galvin, which I'd still like to see much more from him.
Yeah, I don't think he's deserving of any kind of accolades just yet, but he has the potential for sure.
So that's the offensive line. That's the tight end and wide receivers and quarterback and running back position. Second team quarterback Bryce Petty. Running backs are Seastrunk and Ganaway. Williams, Reese, and Katie Cannon, the wide receivers. Tight end is Furbacher. And I mentioned the offensive linemen, the backups, or really second teamers. Aaron Jones, Stork is the kicker. John Mayers. Is that right?
Well, yes. And I think of all the positions to pick, kicker was the hardest. And this is no offense to Stork or John Mayers or Chris Callahan or anybody else, but Baylor's kicking has not been stellar.
No. I'll tell you right now, I voted John Mayers, and the reason why I did is because, with all due respect to Aaron Jones, who I think, if you were to poll people like who's going to probably be the pick here, Aaron Jones would be. And that's all well and good, but I looked at the statistics, and John Mayers may have a smaller sample size, but he is far more accurate. And, again, it's a smaller sample size, but you're looking at like 70% type numbers for field goals. That's not very good. I mean, there's a lot of missed kicks between Callahan and Jones, and again, that's part of the gig, but I went Mayers because he's missed a lot less than the other guys, even on fewer attempts.
So that's the all-decade team. Brian Etheridge did the project. All of us voted. That's the all-decade offense today, defense yesterday, special teams were included. I had the Doug Furch, former long snapper, asked me about Jimmy Landis, was the all-decade long or deep snapper for Baylor. We did not mention that yesterday, but special teams, something I've always been very, very close to myself, just because I think if you're really good, this makes you great. If you're okay, you can win a couple of games, even if it's block kicks or kick returns, whatever else.
Well,
all right.
You brought up the kicker. The kicker on the all-decade team is Aaron Jones.
Yes, Aaron Jones, and John Mayers is the. Here's why I picked Aaron Jones for this one reason. Maybe it's too much of a reason. He made the field goal in 2011 against TCU that launched them into that year that ended up going 10-3. Mm-hmm. And you don't win that game when you had so many things going right because RG3 was picking apart a young secondary of the great Gary Patterson defense. You don't make that 40-whatever yard field goal. Who knows what they do? Maybe they languish to 7-6.
Yeah, I picked him over anybody else just because of his longevity. I mean, he had more kicks and all that stuff, and he had some clutch ones. He had some very key misses, though. So it was tough. It was a really tough thing to pick a kicker.
It's good, but neither one of them were like, you got some places when oh my gosh, how are we going to pick between these 3 or 4? Corey Coleman will join us next. Here's what we have today. Robert Brazile, 3:30. We have David Mims, relative of Denzel Mims, at 4 o'clock, former Baylor running back who's really good. He's now out in California in the tech business. We have John Machota on the Cowboys at 5. Max Olson on what the NCAA released today at 4:45. And then Jay Yelas, a Bassmaster Classic Hall of Famer, an angler, will join us today at 4:30.
There were a couple of special team spots on this team that we have not mentioned yet. In addition to the kicker, which we just covered with Aaron Jones being the selection for the all-decade team, punt returner was probably one of the easiest ones to decide, Levi Norwood. I mean, does anybody want to even try to put up an argument for anybody else?
I mean, it's Levi Norwood and Graydon Arnold are the only ones who's had punt returns for touchdowns in the last 15 years. So, again, you kind of have to throw them. That's the two.
Yeah, and then at kick returner, Corey Coleman. Even though he didn't do it a lot, when he did do it, he was really good, and that's who I took as well, just because if I'm going to pick one guy to put back there, then I'm going to put Corey Coleman back there. It's just he would have returned more kicks. He was just too valuable to them later on in his career, but he was special when he did it, and that Iowa State kick return is still one of the main reasons why Iowa State fans hate Baylor so much from like his redshirt or whenever that was freshman year. So, yeah, those were the special teams guys, and you can check out the full team on SicEm365.com.
One thing on Kyron Drones, Craig. Drones is you had Auburn, you had Georgia Tech, you had Vanderbilt, you had Arkansas, you had Michigan State. They offered him some of the names that were a part of his list. He picked Baylor today. Kyron Drones from Shadow Creek, state championship quarterback. They ran the table last year. I think beat Denton Ryan in the state championship game. Coming up next, he's a first-team all-decade wide receiver. He's an All-American, Bolitnikoff Award winner. Corey Coleman of the New York Giants next on SicEm365 Radio.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
We are facing some unique challenges at this time. We want to do our part to support not only our community, but our medical providers who are really overtasked right now. Governor Greg Abbott has required dental offices to postpone all elective dental procedures, but still be available for dental emergencies. At this time, dental emergencies are those that are defined as something that would make somebody consider going to the emergency room for treatment. We're offering to see you at our office Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 8 to noon, and we will waive all fees. We're doing this to support the community and to support the medical system. This will allow the overtasked medical community to focus on the truly needy at this time. In the midst of what seems to be so much gloomy news, we want to send a positive signal of our faith in our community and in each other. We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. We are all in this together.
We're 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 all in this together. We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. Thank you and God bless.
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support our community through this crisis. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at IdealMRI.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
We're approaching the time to announce the 10th annual Academic All-Stars team. 20 elite student athletes who excel in both academic and athletic competition from Central Texas high schools. And right now, focused on the nominations that have come through so many great young men and women to choose from. Hi, this is David Smoke. Our title sponsor, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952. 2020 Academic All-Stars program is also brought to you by
Westdale Asset Management, Englander Design Pack, Bentwood Realty, Southwest Sports Medicine, Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, Coca-Cola of Waco, Ray Broker Air Conditioning and Heating, the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, HEB, the McLean Group, Universal Windows Direct, Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, and the Waco Foundation.
We will announce the team on Friday, May the 1st, and highlight them throughout the month of May. It's the 10th annual Academic All-Stars team, highlighting the elite student athletes in Greater Central Texas, right here on SicEm365 Radio.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
Russell completes it to Coleman. Great miss, going for his third touchdown and in.
SicEm365 released their all-decade offense earlier today. We've gone over that with you, and on the first-team offense, wide receivers, Corey Coleman, Kendall Wright, Denzel Mims, who was just drafted by the Jets, and of course there's the debate about who else could be involved in that. Corey Coleman, the Corey Coleman on Twitter, and also a part of the New York Giants All-American Fred Biletnikoff Award winner, joins us. How you been, young man?
Good. How you been?
Doing great. I appreciate you reaching back out to me, and it's great the timing with the all-decade team. So I'm going to put you on the spot. You played with, oh my goodness, Kendall obviously was a part of it. You, Corey Coleman, Terrence Williams, Katie Cannon, and now you saw what Denzel Mims did. If you had to pick three, who would you pick?
Including myself or not including me?
No, you got to include yourself because I know you will.
Okay, I'm going to go with me at number one. I explain a little bit why, y'all might say, oh, he's biased. But I'm going to go me number one. At number two, I'm going to have to put Kendall.
Okay.
And at number three, I kind of have a three-way tie. You can choose kind of either three of them. So I'm going to go with KD, Antoine Goodley, and Denzel.
Okay.
I'm going to go those three at number three. If we're going off just like pure talent, or we're going off stats too. So that's another thing. You know?
Let's go off of, the stats, I think, all speak for themselves, and that's why it would be difficult. But let's go by, in your opinion, pure talent.
Pure talent?
Yep.
So I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay. All right.
Talent.
Okay.
So, Corey, when you came here, this was wide receiver you when you guys were here, and you were confident in your ability to step in, but was it intimidating, especially as a young player, to step in here and know that, oh man, I better play well, or I'm not going to see much of the field?
I think they made an environment. You knew what it was, but it was a competitive environment. So you're only coming to Baylor to compete. If you don't have this competitive nature in you, you're not going to make it there because you're going to get weeded out real fast.
Corey, what were those practices like when you first got to campus and in that competition level that you talk about? I know you probably had some idea. You had been around some practices, but what was kind of like the welcome to Baylor sort of moment for you when you got into the flow of things?
I have to say the gogi. So it's like a Greek word for turning a boy into a man. That's when they put you through this Navy SEAL workout, one of the hardest workouts you ever go through, 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, and it's pretty much for all freshmen. You got to go through it. So that was a huge eye opener. It's like, oh yeah, this is for real. This is not, you pick when you want to work out and stuff. Like, you have to put everything in it, and you have to love football and love what you do. If not, you get weeded out.
Yeah, there's so much talent, and there are names we didn't even get a chance to get to. Some guys that were really also dynamic that just did not make it. Hey, I had someone tell me today that, and we know how intense you are. Were you kind of an enforcer inside that locker room, inside that team when you played at Baylor?
Yeah, like, I would say so, and I think all my peers would too. I came with that mentality, the attitude, like, we're not going to lose. If, I was hard on the younger guys. I even pushed the older guys who was in front of me, but they respected it because my ultimate thing was to get everybody better and for us to win football games.
Have you seen the documentary series with Michael Jordan, The Last Dance?
Yes, sir.
Have you watched, is there Michael Jordan, of course, is to me the greatest of all time. Others can debate that, but do you see kind of that fire that he was pushing guys when he knew that when Pippen went out that he had to get other guys to play better?
Right. And, the coaches there left me with, same type of role. I'm not going to not compare myself to Michael Jordan, of course, but they had that leadership in me, especially when I grew to become the leader that I was in that locker room and outside that locker room.
Art Briles' offense was, you're going to try to score on every play. I mean, he believed that you could score in any play. You were kind of that perfect receiver for him because that last year it felt like every time you touched the ball, you scored a touchdown. Did you have that mentality of, if this works, I'm going to score?
Yeah, I had that mentality, Coach Kaz and Coach Brosnan did a great job, bringing players in together who were competitive, had that competitive nature and spirit and stuff. So, I kind of like trained myself in mentality, especially going with Coach Kaz. That man's crazy. He'll get it out of you.
Corey, we also had you on this all-decade team. Not only were you amongst the votes first-team wide receiver, but also the first-team kick returner. Now, from what I recall, it's not something you did a ton, but you did a little bit. Do you have any kick return memories, and is that something that you enjoyed doing and wished maybe in a way you could have done it more?
I definitely enjoyed it a lot, especially my younger years at Baylor. I wasn't playing – my first year I played receiver and stuff, but anything to help the team. And, I felt like just touching the ball, I could help the team win and stuff like that. So I asked, I'm like, let me go back there and return kicks, coach. He's like, okay.
What have you learned about yourself since you became a pro football player?
It's a lot. You're going to go through adversity. This is part of life. That's a normal person working, a 9 to 5. They're going to go through adversity too. They might get laid off right now in this world. We're going through adversity. That's just like in general, that's going to happen. It's no matter how you bounce back from it. Some guys can lay in the towel, they can quit, they can give up. And one thing I know about myself, no matter how hard it is, I'm never going to give up and keep fighting.
We're talking to Corey Coleman, Blitnikoff Award winner, All-American, part of the New York Giants, and voted as an all-decade wide receiver, no-brainer for Baylor by SicEm365. Paul?
How's your health right now?
It's good. I'm coming back. I didn't play last year, ACL, but, I'm running. I'm recovering really good. The Giants, medical staff and the trainers there did an unbelievable job. They've been with me every step of the way. So that's really good when you got people like that who has your best interest.
Corey, I want to go back to the kick return for a second. What do you recall from the Iowa State game when you guys were just blowing their doors off already and they put you in there late and you weren't like a Blitnikoff winner at this point. Everybody knew you had a lot of talent, but you had not like taken over, and you get in there late to run a kickback. You do. And what do you recall anything from that particular play?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. It was crazy because I feel like that's where it all started, for me. I ran back, wasn't letting off the gas, even though we're up a lot. My whole mentality I'm back here. I'm going to go score.
Well, you did that a lot. Yeah. You did that a lot.
And then I kind of said, I put myself at number one. And, I'm a hard critic on, I would say, all the receivers who's been through Baylor, studied them, watched them and stuff. And one of the reasons I put myself at one, if anyone, out there who watched the Baylor games and stuff, especially my last year, first my sophomore year, I'm going my last year. My last year, if you watch the tape, you see like for the first 5 or 6 games I recall, I didn't play past the second half. I was on the sideline with my flip-flops on, helmet off, shoulder pads off, on the sideline. If you watch, you didn't see Corey in the game second half. So if you tally up them 6-5 games, I didn't play past the second half, my stats I think I would have reached 2,000 yards in receiving. To be honest, we're beating teams so bad, and my whole, and Coach Arbaugh's whole mindset too was that we're trying to go and get in the playoffs. So we're not going to risk, you playing the whole game, because I'm begging him, like, let me keep on playing. He's like, no, you done well today. You're good. And it's still 2 quarters left.
Yeah.
Corey's out there trying to get that 400-yard receiving game, and he probably could have a few times, actually, like he's saying. Hey, Corey, this past weekend, 4 draft picks for the Bears, 10 undrafted free agents, 14 guys entering the league. Denzel, though, going pretty high there in the second round of the Jets. What are your thoughts on Denzel, the latest Baylor wide receiver to enter the pros?
I like Denzel a lot. I talked to him. I trained with him a couple times, too. So I like Denzel a whole lot. I'm so happy for him. It's always, a great thing when a young guy dreams come true and stuff, and entering the league. And, I'm going to chat with him when all this stuff is, all the excitement and stuff. A lot of people hitting his phone up. Just give him some game and advice that I wish that I would have got at a young age. So I'm excited for his future, too. I think he's going to be a hell of a player.
Such a great story about you and your mother in Dallas, and then coming to Baylor, and then what you did with the awards and the records. Congratulations. It's obviously first team all-decade at Baylor's not a surprise. You'd be an all-decade guy. You're probably in the Big 12. I don't even know if they had that yet. But thanks for your time. Appreciate it. Good luck with getting healthy, staying healthy, and also staying safe. And thanks for your time. Good luck during whatever we have with the 2020 football season.
Yes, sir. Have a blessed day.
That is Corey Coleman, the Corey Coleman on Twitter.
Sounded happy. Yeah, sounded like he was in good spirits.
Last time I talked to him, I don't, it's kind of tough when you're the 15th pick. Remember, we're in Chicago, and everyone they loved the pick, and it just never worked.
Yeah, well, it never worked out for. I think Corey had to mature a little rapidly, but that organization was not set up to help people mature rapidly. The Browns are a terrible organization. It's terrible. And it was great for Corey to get picked 15th, and he made a lot of money, but ultimately it was bad for his career and it's bad for a lot of guys' careers to wind up in a bad organization when you don't need that right off the bat.
Well, if it had happened maybe in the last couple of years, the Browns would have selected him, then I think we'd feel better about it. But when it happened at that time, you were definitely like, oh, that's awesome, he went. Oh, where'd he go? Oh, okay. And then that kind of just right out of the gates just sort of was like, oh, man. And, he would probably admit, and I think he kind of sort of alluded to it, even in that last answer about Denzel, I put him up on game, or I want to put him up on game once the excitement is over and give him some advice I wish I would have had at a young age, so he didn't have all the answers. He probably felt like he did at the time, but, he got the same type of rude awakening that hundreds of other guys get when they get into the pros, and good for him that he's still out there. He's on a roster, he's coming back from injury, and he's got a good opportunity. The Giants seem to like him a lot, so I'm rooting for Corey, and they need wide receiver help too.
That's Corey Coleman, New York Giants, and remember now at 5:30, Cameron Kaufhold, former Baylor offensive lineman who's a part of the all-decade team, he'll join us at 5:30 tomorrow, Kyle Fuller. But coming up next, yet another Pro Football Hall of Famer, former Oilers great Robert Brazile on SicEm365 Radio. Waco Custom Marketplace is open right now. They'll be open until 6 o'clock with their drive-through, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., including again for the next 2.5 hours. You can still, with the drive-through they set up, get what you want from their butcher shop and bakery. salmon, catfish, beef, chicken, whole chickens. They have chicken breast if that's what you want. When you drive around the side of the back, and they'll have like a menu that they'll bring to you. You check off what you want. They'll help that. They'll have a clipboard. They'll write it down, or they'll check off what you want. You want a couple of 3 or 4 pounds of hamburger, that's it. You want sandwich meat, that's got. And if you want something from the bakery, they'll have that for you as well. And then you turn around, go around to the other side. They'll bring out the product to you in a bag, and you pay. It's that simple, so you continue to get the great product from Waco Custom Marketplace, including if you want, even if you want to call ahead for something customized for you to pick up and go. The Bauer family does a great job. The food is fantastic. The product that you cook yourself is absolutely Class A, perfect. It's up to you, and you want to put it on the grill, in the oven, on the range, or somewhere like in a smoker. It's there. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
This is Waco, and this is Boozer's Jewelers. When locals want luxurious jewelry and at a competitive price, they come here. This is Brad Boozer. He's the owner of Boozer's Jewelers. Boozer's is the premier wedding ring store. They specialize in loose diamonds and wedding rings. At Boozer's, they have 7 jewelry counters dedicated to wedding rings and diamonds only. They also specialize in heirloom jewelry, custom jewelry, watches, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Stop on in today and discover why the locals trust Boozer's for their jewelry.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hi, this is Mark Bird, head football coach at Whitney High School, home of the Wildcats, and you're listening to SicEm365 Radio with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, with Crown Royal Peach in stock right now and Balcones Whiskey, including single malt, hot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Sausage wrap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
Waco, Texas, a place with its own unique history and a future bright with promise. Full of remarkable growth and opportunity, and what makes it all work is its people, families, raising children, growing businesses. Wacoans are hardworking with a passion for what's next, and we're proud to be from here, helping Waco to grow and prosper. We are the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
In this day and age, you must be able to change how you do business. Think outside the box to ensure that you service your customers. And at Waco Custom Marketplace, we've created our own drive-thru for your Monday, Wednesday, and Friday shopping needs, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So you can still order and enjoy from our great butcher shop and bakery, including 2 pounds of 8-ounce salmon fillets for $24.05, 2 pounds of 4-ounce catfish fillets for $4.90, sliced ham or turkey, American cheese and smoked sausage, fresh chicken breasts, 3.5-pound whole chickens, sliced bacon, boneless pork chops, 80/20 ground beef, 4 pieces of sirloin steak or 4 pieces of ribeye steak from $19 to $35. Marinated beef or chicken fajita meat plus a loaf of bread. Fresh carrots and Idaho or red beet potatoes or white onions. Pinto beans and white rice, flour tortillas. So the great product, customer service, and tradition continues at Waco Custom Marketplace with a drive-thru only Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
The year was 1975, and new head coach Bum Phillips brought winning football back to Houston. There was a new kind of excitement in the Astrodome air, and a new kind of linebacker on the AstroTurf. His name was Robert Brazile, and with a lineman's bulk and a halfback's speed, he was both tracker and destroyer. He epitomized a new breed of linebackers, and for the next 10 years, he set the standard for them.
You heard about Robert Brazile, linebacker, Pro Football Hall of Famer, former Houston Oiler, and he joins us now on SicEm365 Radio. Robert, I'll always remember, Earl Campbell told me every time I would ever go back to the days with him of Love You Blue or the Houston Oilers, that you were the best football player and that you were a Pro Football Hall of Famer. And, of course, it finally happened a couple of years ago. Your thoughts about what that meant to you to be part of the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
First, I want to say thank you to you, and always a big shout-out to my friend Earl Campbell. You know, everybody want to give me a lot of credit for being a good football player. I just like being around good people. The fond memories of that, man, is the brotherhood, the lifetime membership with these guys that I played with. I tell people I always played with some of the best group of guys that ever put on that uniform. And I say that because as of today, they are still just as close to me than my brothers and my family is to me right now.
I watched your Hall of Fame speech today to try to pull some things for our open and to do some different audio things. And you were, and many people are, but the end of your speech was the most enthusiastic thing, where you thanked all the Oilers, all your teammates, all your friends. That moment had to be something else for you, where you said, at the end of it, you said, "I'm home." Is that what it felt like when you got that knock on the door, that you were going home?
Well, it was the last step of approval. You know, you can play the game, or you can be a father, or you can be a brother, you can be a teacher. For me, it has always been, when am I going to get that call, or when am I going to get that last validation by being recognized as a Hall of Famer. I have been waiting for it for so long, you know. So many other linebackers that went in before me, and I was saying, what did I do wrong to myself? Or, you know, this is not my year yet. But when I had the opportunity to face the nation and tell them that I was finally at home, and I meant it, because, you know, I lived in Satsuma, Alabama, but my final resting place is going to be in Canton, Ohio.
Robert, it's been over 20 years since the Houston Oilers were even a franchise, and yet people still talk about them like it was just yesterday, especially that Love You Blue time period. Why do you think there's such great lasting memories and nostalgia when it comes to the Houston Oilers franchise?
During that era, man, we played a style of football that everybody appreciated. You know, you had the Dallas Cowboys when I first got to Houston was America's team. Then we come through there playing against the Pittsburgh Steelers, which was Super Bowl dynasty champion, just like the New England Patriots are today, and some other teams. So we came in and started beating people. We were a bunch of no-name guys that came out and just had fun, and we were the Love You Blue guys. I mean, we had our song, we had our swagger, we had our look, our cowboy look. We had that all cowboy look, and we just proved to be some of the best players that could get together and to just, these guys just mended like somebody making a good cake. You know, you ever had a good piece of pound cake that your grandmama used to cook? And, you know, you can smell it before it get there. And it was just so tasteful, man. We just had, and people just, and for them, you know, I want to say to my Love You Blue guys, you know, we are an extinct group of guys. but we do have a new home with the people up in Nashville. Amy has reached out. The Titans has reached out for us, and trying to make us home. I mean, I'm in the Ring of Honor, and I got other buddies in the Ring of Honor, but she has reached out for us to say that we do have a home there also with the Tennessee Titans.
That's great to know. You were tall, and you could run, and you were physical. Were you in some way, Hollywood Henderson, who we've been trying to track him down as well to try to get him on, but were you guys almost ahead of your time at the linebacker position, Robert?
No, I think we was right on time. I was coming out of Jackson State as a middle linebacker. Hollywood was coming out. I forgot the college he played with. And, if you think about it, we could have almost ended up on the same team, due to some things that happened back then. Gil Bryant and them had came down to Jackson State and scouted me also. I actually thought I was going to get drafted by the Cowboys, but I don't think I was fast enough to get on the Cowboys team. And they drafted Randy White as a linebacker that year, 1975. And but they would have made them and me be able to play with Hollywood on the same team. We ended up playing against, because Baum traded for Hollywood. And I used to always tell them, you're about the second fastest linebacker in there.
Robert, who you played with the hardest running back to tackle at the time. So who was the second hardest running back to tackle?
I played with him also. His name was Walter Payton.
Oh, yeah.
I tell people this in a joking way, and I hope y'all get the same joke when I tell it. I slept around with the best two running backs in the NFL. Earl Cameron and Walter Payton. Me and Walter was roommates in college, and Earl Cameron was my roommate on the road. And we'd always travel and slept in the same hotel. In different beds, guys. Y'all get that straight now. Somebody takes that, carries a whole different way. But I slept with the best two running backs in there. And I practiced against these guys. Y'all got to know how blessed I was to have the best practice against the best every day.
Yeah.
That is up my game.
I can imagine. The Walter Payton, that was a time when you mentioned Hollywood, I think it was from Henderson State. You were from, obviously, Jackson State, as was Walter Payton. Gene Upshaw from Texas A&I. You had a lot of what were the historically black colleges that were feeding Grambling, Doug Williams, and feeding the NFL.
Yes.
Is it kind of a sad time now that you don't see that now as much, if at all?
Well, you got to understand, the colleges during the time that I came out of school wasn't recruiting a lot of the big colleges. I had the opportunity. At my high school here in Alabama, Viger High School, which is one of the feeder schools to Alabama and Auburn, because so many of the guys that I've coached and during the time before me when I was in high school had the opportunity to go to those schools. In my senior year, a lot of people don't realize that I broke my arm in high school, and every college got off of me. I was a little skinny kid, from high school playing middle linebacker, all kind of records and everything. But they got off of me. I did get an offer from Troy State. Y'all heard of Troy State, right?
Yep.
I took my mom, and I'll tell you this story. It's kind of funny. Me and Ricky Young, which played for the San Diego Chargers, signed a letter of intent. We went up and visited the school. So my mom and dad wanted to go see the college that we was going to attend. We took them up during the springtime. I'm got to take y'all back now. This is 1970, 71. My mother had never seen a two-piece swimsuit. we pull up on campus, and believe me, guys, every young lady was out on campus sun tanning. My mama said, turn the truck car around. I'm talking to my dad. Turn the car around. They cannot go to school here. Ain't nobody wearing no clothes. So the next week, we get an invite up to Jackson State. And Jackson State Bob Hill looked at Ricky Young and said, "Wow, I got me a fullback." And I asked him, I said, "Coach, what about me?" He said, No, you got to make my team, son. And they gave me the push I needed, people, to push me through college, trying to make that guy's team.
Did you almost like jump out of the car and say, start running back towards
Mom.
the campus? Yeah, sorry, Mom, huh?
No. I want to say, I just wanted to go to school, man, but I really wanted to go back to that campus. It was good looking lady there.
Oh, my goodness. Well, now that you're a part of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, when it comes around every year, do you reflect back on the moment you finally had someone knock on your door, or you're a voter now? What does it mean to you as it goes by each year?
Now it means more to me because I feel like I'm a part of something, and I will be a part of it too. After I'm all said and done by Brazile, I will always be Hall of Famer 312. These guys, it's a special group of guys, and the thing that I look forward to is the certain events that we have to spend together as Gold Jackets. The time we had this big welcoming, what we call the Gold Jacket luncheon. Very, very, very important. When these guys receive their Gold Jacket, I still saying, I get that feeling. I have gotten that feeling because that was the time I first got a kiss from my dad. I got my validation and saying, "Son, you made it." I've always told him that I was going to make it, and this was it. He got a chance to stand on that stage and say, "We made it." And still today, my dad, which is Robert Brazile Sr., he wears his name bigger than mine now. So he's the Hall of Famer. I'm Robert Brazile Jr.
You told me that you would be riding a bike while we were doing the interview. Everything, you've been okay? Everything okay? You staying safe and smart?
Staying safe. That's what me and my wife does. I mean, we got to continue to keep each other healthy. I invested in a Baja track. Okay. Man, it's one of the best bikes, and I've only had it for a week, and I got over 70 miles on it.
Oh, nice.
Very nice.
So I'm enjoying it. We do 20 minutes in the morning and another 20 minutes during lunch and another 20 minutes in the evening. So after this interview, we'll be jumping on it.
All right, we'll let you go do that. Robert, thank you so much for being a part of the show. Always fun to listen to you. I remember when we had you on the Super Bowl, really, I think even before it was in Houston, and finally that moment happened where you're a part of the Hall of Fame. Great player. Earl, I was on the phone with him just a little bit earlier, not dropping names. I've known him for a long time, and he said something about you, and he still to this day says so many good things about you. So thanks for your time, and have a great week.
Hey, man, thank y'all, and y'all continue. My phone is always open for people like y'all. Y'all make us feel good, and we're part of y'all. And I hope y'all guys are practicing safe out there in Waco. Hope that once this is all over, we can get back and we can get some football around about October or September, one of these months.
Yes,
absolutely.
Sounds good.
No kidding. Thank you, Robert. Robert Brazile, Pro Football Hall of Famer, went to Jackson State. He was a first-round pick, the 6th overall pick in 1975. Played his entire career, a decade with the Oilers, 7-time Pro Bowl, 5 times All-Pro first team, 6-time All-Pro, 5 times a first team, NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, All-Decade Team, Titans, Oilers, Ring of Honor, and again, the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Got his Dr. Doom nickname that he doesn't go by any longer, obviously. I think I read an interview where somebody called him Dr. Doom. He's like, no, I'm not Dr. Doom anymore. I'm just Robert Brazile. But what was cool about that Dr. Doom nickname was sort of how it originated from, a guy who played at a USC linebacker, Richard Wood, to then Howard Cosell being the one to kind of cement the Dr. Doom nickname. We didn't get into that, but I found that to be a cool little anecdote that Cosell had a hand in him taking that moniker on.
We're going to discuss a couple of things. First of all, again, the commitment today, Baylor from Kyron Drones. Kyron Drones.
Think of like the drones that fly around.
Shadow Creek High School won a state championship. I know SicEm365, Grayson, Colt, all of them are working on that. They had that from the very beginning, the jump. So we'll discuss that as well. Plus what the NCAA released, a 31-page document. and you can it's just full of a lot of information. But in the end, it's about, are there going to be possibilities of players making money, and yet the NCAA wants to still kind of like say, wait a minute. We'll get into that. Max Olson will join us to break it down at 4:45 from theathletic.com. Coming up next, SicEm365 in 10 minutes, former Baylor running back David Mims, related to Denzel. This is SicEm365 Radio.
Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac is celebrating 21 years of serving Waco and Central Texas. Richard Carr employees are the people you can count on to get you in a car or truck safely and on your terms. The showroom is disinfected daily. Employee health is closely monitored. Hands are washed and disinfected with great frequency. And the Richard Carr sales staff will bring a car to you for a test drive, and they can complete financing online. Right now, all 2020 Buick Encores, Enclaves are in stock. 0% for 84 months for qualified buyers, plus Richard Carr anniversary savings. They also have the 2020 GMC Sierras, Acadias, Terrains, and Canyons. They're all 0% for 84 months for qualified buyers, plus Richard Carr anniversary savings. Your local family dealer and proud Baylor Bear alumni want the chance to earn your business. Great prices, free oil changes with a new purchase, and in-town priority warranty service all comes with your purchase at Richard Carr, GMC Buick Cadillac.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
We're approaching the time to announce the 10th annual Academic All-Stars team, 20 elite student athletes who excel in both academic and athletic competition from Central Texas high schools. And right now, focused on the nominations that have come through so many great young men and women to choose from. Hi, this is David Smoke. Our title sponsor, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952. 2020 Academic All-Stars program is also brought to you by
Westdale Asset Management, Englander Design Pack, Bentwood Realty, Southwest Sports Medicine, Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, Coca-Cola of Waco, Ray Broker Air Conditioning and Heating, the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, HEB, the McLean Group, Universal Windows Direct, Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, and the Waco Foundation.
We will announce the team on Friday, May the 1st, and highlight them throughout the month of May. It's the 10th annual Academic All-Stars team, highlighting the elite student athletes in Greater Central Texas, right here on SicEm365 Radio.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
We are facing some unique challenges at this time. We want to do our part to support not only our community, but our medical providers who are really overtasked right now. Governor Greg Abbott has required dental offices to postpone all elective dental procedures, but still be available for dental emergencies. At this time, dental emergencies are those that are defined as something that would make somebody consider going to the emergency room for treatment. We're offering to see you at our office Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 8 to noon, and we will waive all fees. We're doing this to support the community and support the medical system. This will allow the overtasked medical community to focus on the truly needy at this time. In the midst of what seems to be so much gloomy news, we want to send a positive signal of our faith in our community and in each other. We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're 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 all in this together. We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. Thank you and God bless.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long business meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's Group Meal.
Next in line.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
David Mims, former Baylor running back, played at where Denzel Mims played high school ball in Dangerfield. He'll join us today at 4 o'clock. So the NCAA, it gave me a headache. This is too much for me, too much above my pay grade. 31 pages of the national, what is this, Paul? NIL?
Name, image, and likeness.
Recommendations. Here are a couple of things that they put out there. One of the critical lessons learned by the working group during the review, which took like 6 months, was that group licensing programs that currently exist in pro sports or the Olympics all benefit from legal structures not available to the NCAA or member institutions, namely the presence of a players' association to serve as a bargaining unit for the athletes. As it is explained later in the report, the absence of similar legal structures in intercollegiate athletics greatly complicates the NCAA's ability to pursue a group licensing approach similar to the models by pro teams. At this time, the working group is also not recommending any changes in the NCAA rules to permit group licenses of student athletes, name, image, likeness, in what are characterized as group products like video games.
Yeah. Do you know what that means?
No,
we don't want NCAA video game.
Yeah. We don't want the athletes to unionize. That's what that means.
But it also means no NCAA video game.
Yes. There are legal hurdles to such activity. The working group recommends that the NCAA continue to explore whether those legal hurdles can be overcome. So here's the bottom line. They took 6 months to do all this, and yeah, any movement is better than nothing. But it really is nothing new, even though anything is okay. Mm-hmm. Took 6 months. Whether certain categories of third-party businesses, athletics, shoe, and apparel companies should be precluded from or have limited participation in the newly permitted activities due to their history of encouraging or facilitating recruiting and other rules infractions. So now they're also going to eliminate shoe companies and all that too?
Well, they have to. You got to think they've got to, with apparel companies, they have to put some sort of barrier on it because then, schools with lesser deals, Baylor's got a big Nike deal. Oregon's the Nike school. So you take all the Nike schools, and if you sign with Nike, say when you're 17 years old, because now you can. So you're 17 years old, you're a prospect, and you're going to sign with Nike. Because it's not going to preclude you from playing high school athletics. There's no rule against it there, really. So it's not going to preclude you from doing that. So you sign with Nike. Well, then Nike says, here are the schools that you can go to. Well, that's something else they got to regulate. So I think that's what they're scared of is that, the whole thing that was going on with Adidas and all that will be much more large scale because now it would be legal and they could funnel and the coaches could, assistant coaches, all these things could skim off the top. There's a lot of money that would be changing hands.
Here's the Cliff's Notes version of everything that you may have read about it or just heard. They are moving towards name, image, likeness. Nothing's official today. The whole deal that everybody's talking about or whoever's talking about it is that the Board of Governors from the NCAA basically said, yeah, we support this idea, and let's move forward with some more ideas. That's the gist of the entire story. Now, the part of it is that there are going to be certain things like the video games not going to be back on because of this. Student athletes can be in a commercial, for example, and they can say, I'm Bryce Petty, Baylor quarterback, and he could be allowed to do that for like a truck commercial or something like that, but he can't say I'm Big 12 quarterback Bryce Petty, or he can't use the Baylor uniform in the commercial or things like that. So this isn't just like free reign, everybody can do what. There's a lot of little things here and there with it, but basically, yeah, you could do a car commercial, say I'm Bryce Petty, Baylor quarterback, but you had the generic off-brand uniform, I guess it's green and gold or whatever. So they're working towards allowing that, but it still seems like they've got some hurdles to cross. It's great for those that support the student-athletes' ability to profit off their name, image, likeness. It certainly appears we're headed full throttle in that direction, but, nothing official today as far as what all that will entail.
Well, it'll also allow just anybody to get a regular job.
Yeah.
So you can, if you need some money and you have a part-time job, which you don't have as much time for, you can do that. So.
Yep.
All right. We have heard from Corey Coleman. We've heard the news on the quarterback commitment to Baylor. Shadow Creek quarterback Kyron Drones. We've also just heard from Hall of Famer Robert Brazile. We broke down a little bit of the NCAA, 31 pages. It's like the more pages, the more you won't be able to understand. That's at least in my terms. Max Olson will break that down better at 4:45. But coming up next, former Baylor running back David Mims, who has a tech company out in California. He's next on SicEm365 Radio.
This is Waco, and this is Boozer's Jewelers. When locals want luxurious jewelry and at a competitive price, they come here. This is Brad Boozer. He's the owner of Boozer's Jewelers. Boozer's is the premier wedding ring store. They specialize in loose diamonds and wedding rings. At Boozer's, they have 7 jewelry counters dedicated to wedding rings and diamonds only. They also specialize in heirloom jewelry, custom jewelry, watches, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Stop on in today and discover why the locals trust Boozer's for their jewelry.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hi, this is Mark Bird, head football coach at Whitney High School, home of the Wildcats, and you're listening to SicEm365 Radio with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, with Crown Royal Peach in stock right now and Balcones Whiskey, including single malt, hot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Sausage wrap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue.
Next in line.
Waco, Texas, a place with its own unique history and a future bright with promise. Full of remarkable growth and opportunity, and what makes it all work is its people, families, raising children, growing businesses. Wacoans are hardworking with a passion for what's next, and we're proud to be from here, helping Waco to grow and prosper. We are the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
In this day and age, you must be able to change how you do business. Think outside the box to ensure that you service your customers. And at Waco Custom Marketplace, we've created our own drive-thru for your Monday, Wednesday, and Friday shopping needs, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So you can still order and enjoy from our great butcher shop and bakery, including 2 pounds of 8-ounce salmon fillets for $24.05, 2 pounds of 4-ounce catfish fillets for $4.90, sliced ham or turkey, American cheese and smoked sausage, fresh chicken breasts, 3.5-pound whole chickens, sliced bacon, boneless pork chops, 80/20 ground beef, 4 pieces of sirloin steak or 4 pieces of ribeye steak from $19 to $35. Marinated beef or chicken fajita meat plus a loaf of bread. Fresh carrots and Idaho or red beef potatoes or white onions. Pinto beans and white rice, flour tortillas. So the great product, customer service, and tradition continues at Waco Custom Marketplace with a drive-thru only Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
This is SicEm365 Radio. The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Duggan rolls, looking Rager's way, throws, and picked off. Braylon Arnold stepped right in front and made the pick for Baylor.
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. When life is stressful, there's an ideal solution. Ideal MRI. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
The Baylor Bear Hotline, Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. And, of course, the dealership open right there off Imperial Drive, off of Loop 340. And they're doing and being safe as you can still buy, as Craig has done many times, talked about the cars, the SUVs, and much more. David Mims. Mims has been a name that's been in the news the last few weeks because of Denzel. But David Mims is a guy I've known for, well over almost 35 years. Former Dangerfield star, Baylor running back, now in California. And he joins Paul Catalina, Craig, and David Smoke on SicEm365 Radio. How you doing, David Mims?
Man, I'm blessed. Life is great.
It was just, 3 years ago, the B Association honored you for what you were as a football player during that time you were at Baylor. When you get things like that, what did that mean that night or that game, and what does it mean to you even now?
Well, I think it's a validation for all the hard work, Been from Dangerfield, a small town, for 3,500 people at the time, and not, growing up, not thinking that you would ever have the opportunity to play at a D1 school, but just to continue to work hard. And I think that was just kind of the accumulation, the validation of my whole entire career from high school to college to pros. And that day just kind of brought it all together and just brought so much meaning to it for me.
You played pretty much right at the end of this. You have a couple more years of the Southwest Conference, but what was that? What was that like in that league at that time? That it had gotten very competitive inside the league, and everybody was trying to get each other. What was that like?
I mean, it was intense. I mean, because back then you had Texas A&M, Baylor. You had Arkansas. You had all these schools that were in there. Texas. We were all in there, and we were just every year is just so competitive. You play Texas one week, you play A&M the next week, and I think the Southwest Conference, in my opinion, was a lot stronger league than now the Big 12 is. But I think the Southwest Conference was a much stronger league, and the competition every week in and week out, it was pretty intense. U of H was there, with the run and shoot, and so it was.
Oh, we just lost him. Yeah. Not sure, Paul, if he has a landline as well. But
yeah.
By the way, while we're waiting on him.
I like that his phone at least let us know that he had dropped off and then I stopped talking. It's like, oh, thanks for letting us know that it just died.
Bruce Feldman just put this out. Kansas State head coaches Chris Kleiman and also Bruce Weber have agreed to a 13% reduction. And KSU athletics employees making more than $150,000 per year get a 10% reduction. Some overall, the reductions will be about $1.5 million among the staff at K-State. All right, David Mims rejoins us again. You were talking about the Southwest Conference and how competitive it was. David Mims, former Baylor running back, with us on SicEm365 Radio.
Yeah. You have to think about the types of running backs they had at the time. Darren Lewis, Greg Hill, McCobb. I mean, just on and on. Morris and Texas Tech had its slew of running backs and people that came through. So it was a very, very competitive league.
David, if somebody were to ask you to pick a game that maybe not defines you as a player, but your best what would be the game that you would suggest to somebody? Say, hey, here's me. Here's David Mims at my best.
Well, I was fortunate to have a few games there. I would think that my junior year playing against Texas, who hadn't allowed a 100-yard runner there the entire year, and also Colorado, who hadn't had a guy to go for 100 at their place for a long time. And I was fortunate enough to kind of grind it out and get over 100 yards between both of those teams who had very good top defenses at the time in the league and around the country. So I think that Colorado game was a big one for me because they were ranked really high. And it was a kind of a career-defining win for that class that year. So I would say the Colorado and the Texas game
Was
my
that
junior year.
Was Colorado? Was that coming off their national championship?
Yes, that was the game coming off their national championship. I think they were ranked number 3 or something. We were ranked 23. We went up there and beat them that year in Colorado. I think people forget that Baylor was really, really very talented. You know, during those early 90s and late 80s teams. I think one of our grad assistant coaches who played at Clemson, who won a national title, he used to always tell us. He said, just when he looked at Baylor roster and come to practice, he said we were way more talented than the Clemson team that he had. You got to think of the type of guys. We just had talent all around the field, and of course, we ran more of a very style offense. But I just, if we were running the types of offenses they run today, I just think we would have been very, very explosive, a very explosive team.
David Mims is now in Pasadena, California, and you you running a tech company. Tell everybody what you're doing right now and how you got there.
Well, after leaving football, I got into the restaurant industry. I helped start a school, the Sabas International Charter School, right after football in Chicago, which is still one of the biggest schools in the country. Biggest public schools in the country on the south side of Chicago. I was part of the development team for that concept. And then I wanted to get back to Houston. I got into restaurants, and after restaurants, I kind of got into, helping schools and helping organizations raise money, doing events for them. And I just thought that, a lot of organizations needed a way to raise money more efficiently, affordably, and effectively. So I brought technology, kind of merge some concepts with technology to bring it in to give schools and organizations a better way to raise funds and a more efficient and affordable way to do it.
Denzel Mims, Kieris Garrett. You're related to both of them, right?
Yeah, both of them real close cousins. Kieris is my uncle, my mom's nephew. Kieris was, and Denzel is also. So it was a very fun. We all grew up on the same street. It's a little community right outside of Dangerfield called Piney Heights, Texas.
Uh-huh.
And if you go to that community, most of the stars that you've seen come through Dangerfield grew up in that community. David Whitmore, who played with the San Francisco 49ers, grew up in that community. All those guys grew up. A lot of the guys who probably didn't go on to college was talented enough, maybe didn't get the grades. They all grew up in this little small community. Denzel Mims grew up there. Kieris Garrett grew up there. All of us grew up there. Me, my son, who was with the Falcons and messed his knee up a year or two ago, all of us grew up there.
I think that would be some heck of a street football games breaking out in that neighborhood.
Hey man, it's just one street, and the crazy thing about it is just one street. Maybe 200 or 300 people in that community overall, and it's just different bloodlines. Though you have the Evans, the Mills, and you have the Hendricks, and which I don't know if you remember David Smoke, a guy by the name of Johnny David King.
Yes,
who was the number one linebacker in the country when he came out. He just got in trouble in college. He grew up on that street. Yeah, I don't know if you remember Chris Campbell, who played at University of Miami.
Mount Pleasant?
Yeah, Mount Pleasant.
Yeah.
My brother, that's my nephew. He was my nephew.
Okay.
Chris Campbell was. So my brother grew up, in that area, and Chris Campbell was my nephew. And he got killed, of course, his senior year at Miami, which was tragic. And but he was going to be probably the first linebacker drafted that year coming out.
David, we saw Denzel go in the second round this past weekend to the New York Jets. He had to wait a little while. It's just part of the deal. You never know with that draft. He had to wait a little bit, but he did get the call, and he got the call earlier than a lot of other people did. When did you first take notice of Denzel's athletic prowess? When did that become evident? And obviously, I can imagine the family is very, very proud after this weekend.
Oh, man, we're very proud of him. Denzel, he's come a long way. He's grown a lot. He's matured a lot. But when in high school, I keep telling people he's one of the fastest kids that I go to state track meet every year. And he's probably the fastest kid I've ever seen, just naturally fast. And he was so explosively fast in track. I thought he was a better track guy than he was a football player. That's how fast he was. He's probably a 46 quarter miler that never worked out. And if he would have ran track at Baylor, I guarantee you he would have been low 44s, high 43s running, and to low 20 points or 19 something in the 200 meters. He's just that talented and that explosive. And so it was always there. We always known it. And he just brought it all together there at Baylor, and he matured so much there at Baylor. And when you talk to him now, compared to talking to him when he was a senior and junior in high school, he's a totally different kid, man. And it speaks a lot to Coach Rule and the people who was mentoring him there, and the people he was surrounded by at Baylor.
By the way, Chris Campbell was on one of the greatest college football teams ever, though.
Miami, yeah.
Oh yeah, he was on those. Really, it should have been 2 national titles. Rather, it should have been 3. Honestly, they won a Sugar Bowl in Miami. I think they gave it to someone in New Orleans. That year they gave it to somebody else. Then that pass interference in the end zone.
Ohio State, yeah.
Ohio State, they should have won that game, and they won one national championship. So it really should have been 3 national titles for them with that group. Damian Lewis and Chris Campbell and all of those guys, man.
You know how bad
Ed Reed and all of them.
Those teams were loaded. You know how bad that call was? Is that people hated Miami, and they were even going, Miami got screwed. Like Miami got totally.
That was a bad call, man. That call was so bad. And I know they say ref makes mistakes, but think about it, guys. That call on the Saints. When that guy face guarded that guy on the Saints, man, that call cost them the Super Bowl, or going to a Super Bowl. That's hard to deal with.
Mm-hmm. All right,
that's
now
hard to let go.
David Mims is our guest, and we've discussed what he did at Baylor. We've discussed where he's from, the hometown right outside of Dangerfield, and how those areas, Pittsburgh and Mount Pleasant, and eventually Jefferson, and my God, and I covered those. I covered them, and I mean, I drove hundreds and hundreds of miles to cover that area. But is there you played at Dangerfield 84, 85, 86, 87. You were part of the 85 state championship team that hammered Cuero.
Yes.
47-22.
Yes.
And then Steve Stutzman was on that team as well.
Steve.
And I'm still mad at you guys for letting Medina Valley upset you in 84, but we won't get in. Is there any high school football team you were old enough to know that will ever be as good, dominant, and great as 83 Dangerfield?
No, it would never be close. There would never be a team that's close to that. And I'm biased in a way, but that's the best high school team in the history of high school football. And anybody who thinks differently is absolutely insane, because that's for a 3A school. And people have to understand, when we played back then, we played only 4A and 5A schools doing our we played the Kilgores, the Cartridges, the Marches. We played all those schools. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like we were the dealing with soft schedules. Our first 5 games was always against Mount Pleasant, who was stacked then, Kilgore, Carthage, Henderson, and we played all those schools. So that 83 team, nothing would ever come close to that.
The argument, and I know we got to go, Paul. The argument is this. And I brought this up with you. I've asked this to Coach Alexander, who needs to be in the Texas High School Football Hall of Fame. And
he's not?
No, he's in the Hall of Honor, but no. And I'm on that committee. We're working on it.
Well, let me say this before you say that. I don't understand how the Hall of Fame committee has not put that Dangerfield defense, the 1983 Dangerfield defense, in the high school Hall of Fame. They didn't give up 8 points in 16 games. 0 points.
Yeah, well, I'm updating you. 2 years ago, Willie Everett, who was on that team, was inducted into the Texas High School Football Hall of Fame, and it was for that reason, because, everyone wants to think about Thomas Everett. He wasn't even on that team. Eric was, and a bunch of others, but there was no dominant, even though there were great players, it was like this, not compared to the names, because a lot of times High School Hall of Fame, what did they do in college? What did they do in the NFL? So Willie Everett was inducted to represent 83 Dangerfield.
But the problem is Willie was an offensive player. Willie was not the defense
I know.
was the most dominant defense.
I know. Ever. Say it again. Say it louder.
How do you guys not put that entire defense in the high school Hall of Fame?
Hey, the dogs are even fired up.
Yeah.
David's house.
Dogs are ticked off.
They're ready to go.
Are we in agreement?
Hey, I have argued and fought, and I shouldn't have to, about 83 Dangerfield ever. Yeah,
that whole defense has to be in the high school Hall of Fame. The entire defense. What 0 point 16 games? You played Carthage, you played Henderson, you played Mount Pleasant, you played all of those teams. Mm-hmm. And Carthage was ranked in the top 5 with Roscoe Tatum and all those guys who went to TCU.
Audrey McMillan, I think, was maybe a part of. He might have. He may have left.
All those guys was a part of that.
Yeah,
and they dominated them. I mean,
I'm going to have you the next time we meet. I'm going to get you to come. We'll fly you from California and just let you start the meeting. And,
please do. Let me start the meeting, because when I'm done, that team is in the Hall of Fame. That's totally disrespectful. Actually, the whole team should be, because that just solidifies that's Texas' best team in the history, which is, I think, would equate to being one of the best teams in the country ever.
I know, and that's still to come, and I'll have a little update on that for you and everyone at Dangerfield at some point. David, it's great hearing from you, man. Good luck. Sir. Let's stay in touch, okay?
Yes, sir. Thanks, Dave.
David Mims, former Baylor running back.
Well, now you've guaranteed you'll stay in touch because you've got him hot on an issue.
I want to also help him spread that information to the local high schools, and in high schools that I can hit 300 or so, 400 in one click of a button by sending an email. There's the passion.
Well, a couple things.
It was 8 points, by the way, in 16 games.
I was going to say 8 points, because that's kind of how, over time, you just hear how great, and you're like, oh, they gave up 0 points. No, they gave up 8 points, but none of them were on the defense, right?
You gave up half a point a game.
Touchdowns or something.
Yeah.
There was a punt snapped over the head into the end zone for a safety, and there was one Hail Mary at the end of the half. That's it.
Yeah, so
and 13 consecutive shutouts to close out the year.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's incredibly impressive, and that's something that is certainly Hall of Fame worthy. The only problem with putting in full teams is then you'd have 3 or 4 a year that are like, hey, we were the 2005 AD2. Yeah, you were like 11-4 though. You can't put everybody in, and I think that's probably what they look to avoid more than anything. An entire
team. Like you could have 85 Yates, and you could have the team 2 or 3 years ago from Katie, and then you could have 88 Carter. But there's no question, and I've been honored to be a part of a committee that will have, in fact, a Zoom meeting tomorrow night with names like Craig Way and Matt Stepp and Jerry Forrest, who lives in Mart, and others. In the UIL 100, it's going to be selecting not 1 through 100, but the players, the teams, the coaches, the names, and I'm so thrilled to be honored to be a part of that, and that we kind of have our first meeting tomorrow night. All right, when we come back, 4:23, a couple of notes, and then Jay Yelas, a Hall of Famer, Bass Masters Classic Champion, Hall of Famer, coming around the corner on SicEm365 Radio. PettyClinicLowT.com, PettyClinicLowT.com. What can he help you do? Feel better. Give you a sense of energy, a feeling of not being lethargic and sluggish. With one thing, go get your blood work. He will set that up for you and give you discounted lab work. Get your lab work. He'll look at your testosterone levels, and if they're too low, he'll put you in a program to raise your testosterone levels so you'll be the high-performance man you want to be. It's that simple. Get your blood work, and he can test for many other things, including things as simple as cholesterol, whatever. Get your blood work. Yep, you can also test for prostate cancer screening. Get your blood work. Your testosterone levels are too low. He'll put you in a program to increase your testosterone levels, to give you more energy, to let you feel better, and also become the high-performance man you want to be. Help with your stamina and your sex drive. Nothing wrong if that's a problem. He can try to help you out, and he will. Dr. Kent Petty, and you know what? John Henry, we had on last week, the running back out of Lorena. He is a part of that staff, and many others, including Dr. Petty and Dixie, and all the others are fantastic people. PettyClinicLowT.com, PettyClinicLowT.com. One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like these, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illness and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please, remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe. Together, we'll get through this.
Hi, this is Slato High School football coach Alan Hare, and I'm a proud listener and supporter of the all-new SicEm365 radio show with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
We are facing some unique challenges at this time. We want to do our part to support not only our community, but our medical providers who are really overtasked right now. Governor Greg Abbott has required dental offices to postpone all elective dental procedures, but still be available for dental emergencies. At this time, dental emergencies are those that are defined as something that would make somebody consider going to the emergency room for treatment. We're offering to see you at our office Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 8 to noon, and we will waive all fees. We're doing this to support the community and support the medical system. This will allow the overtasked medical community to focus on the truly needy at this time. In the midst of what seems to be so much gloomy news, we want to send a positive signal of our faith in our community and in each other. We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're 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 all in this together. We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. Thank you and God bless.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
When it comes to anglers, fishing, you hear the word Bassmaster, you hear the Bassmaster Classic, that's like the Super Bowl. Jay Yelas, who's been on our show a few times when there have been some events around the community with local kids, fishing clinics. Jay Yelas won the Bassmasters Classic in 2002, three-time tour-level Angler of the Year, and also will be sometime, we hope, if things are going to be okay, in September, a part of the Hall of Fame of Bass Fishing. He joins us, Jay Yelas, on SicEm365 Radio. So, with all of what's going on, do you get to fish more or less?
Well, I'm fishing 0 tournaments, so way less tournaments, but I'm fishing around the house for fun with my kids and friends, about as much as I used to.
Yeah, it's not something you can, Jay, you can just stop doing, right? I mean, it's lucky that they didn't shut that down.
Well, yeah, I can't stop fishing. It's what I've loved to do, and I have my whole life. But, you know, there's a couple states where they had, like Washington State shut fishing down, and Michigan said you can't fish from a boat. And so I think Washington just went back and said they're going to open fishing back up May 5th. So that's a good thing. But yeah, it's a crazy time, but we'll get through it.
What is the best lake you've ever fished?
Oh gosh, I've fished a lot of great lakes. My favorite lake is Sam Rayburn, and the fishing there fluctuates over the years with the fish habitat and stuff, but that has had some phenomenal fishing at Rayburn over the years. And probably the best bass lake I've ever fished is Lake El Salto down in Mexico. Big lake, other than some private lakes in East Texas that were stocked and loaded, but those don't really count.
When you were told that you're going to be inducted into the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame, what was your reaction? What does it mean to you? Oh
my goodness, that was it was a surprise for one thing, because in April the Hall of Fame's not even on your mind. They do that induction in the fall. So Bass called us up and told my wife and I, and we were shocked and thrilled at the same time, and it's just tremendous honor, because you sit back and think about that, and I've been doing this for 32 years, and there's just a tremendous amount of life's work that goes into that sort of nomination or induction. So yeah, it's a huge thrill for me and my family, and we couldn't be more excited about it. That's a tremendous honor. I'm getting inducted with a lot of my childhood heroes that I grew up following as a kid, and it's just amazing.
You are part of a foundation that is really awesome, Cast for Kids, and it enriches the lives of children with special needs, supports their families, and strengthens the communities through the sport of fishing. Where did you decide to start this one, and to get kids who may not normally otherwise, because of things out of their control, their families may not have thought of, bringing them out and putting them on a lake and taking them fishing?
Yeah, that's a good question. Cast for Kids has been around for 28 years, and it's a neat charity that provides an opportunity for special needs kids to go out and enjoy the great sport we call fishing. And we get community volunteers, guys and gals, bring their boats and come on out and take the kids and their caretakers fishing. And so it's neat, because special needs kids, they just don't get opportunities like that. And there's so much to enjoy about a day of fishing. And so we have events all across the country. I mean, we have more in Texas than any other state, but there's Cast for Kids events in, I think, about 35 states. And I got into it about 15 years ago. I was on the board with the charity, and I've always loved their work. And it's fun I'm the executive director now. It's fun on a day-to-day basis to be involved with planning events. And, we've had to reschedule a few of our spring events this year for later in the summer and fall, but we're going to get a bunch of kids out fishing even this year with all that's going on with the virus. We're going to, hopefully by later on this year, things will be settled down, and we'll be able to safely get those kids out on the water and show them a good time fishing. I think the last time we had you on, we were with the radio station. It was Jim Benkin and Tom Hill had a lot to do with the Cast for Kids, and we appreciate it. Yeah, absolutely. Jim lives in New Braunfels, Texas. He's our Western Regional Director, and Tom Hill's a board member of the foundation. So, and he's there in Waco. That's the neatest thing about working it for a fishing related charity is you meet the best people. I mean, it's just all over the country. Folks step up to volunteer and do something to be a blessing to these special kids that don't get an opportunity to go fishing very often, if ever. So you get a lot of big smiles and hugs from the kids. A lot of our participants will catch their first fish ever in their whole life at one of our events, and it's just a tremendous thrill for them and their whole family. So there's always the first time. There's always that first time. I have a friend of mine that on occasion I haven't been up to his place in the mountains, Smoky Mountains, and he has a cabin on a creek. Really, it's on the rapids, and I don't fish a lot, but when I go up there and I feel that tug, there's just, I mean, it like me. I want to do it every day again. And what was it like, Jay? How did that? What was the moment when you got hooked? Oh wow, that's probably the first fish. I can remember the first fish I ever caught, the first bass. Well, I was at my grandparents' lake house, and I was standing on their dock. I was about 5 years old, and they have a picture of me, and I cast a jitterbug out, which is an old topwater plug for bass. I still remember I threw it off the left side of the dock about parallel with the shore and out by the lily pads, and I was reeling that jitterbug real slow, and the largemouth bass came up and ate it off the top. And it just burned a memory in my mind that I'll never forget, and that kind of got me started. You know, imagine that, catching your first fish of your life on a topwater plug.
Yeah,
that's a big thrill. So that got me going, and I've been at it ever since.
I grew up fishing with my dad all the time, all over the place, and I think my stories with him are not necessarily the big fish that we caught, but it was the ones that we got near the boat that fought their way off. You know, they just slap in the side of it and just get that last pull. Do you have any like that you can still think of?
Oh, yeah, we all have those. The big one that got away story, you know, and I've had, I remember one in a bass tournament, we can't use a net in the Bassmaster tournaments. And back, a few years ago, I had a bass that was about 8.5 pounds, and I had them on a crankbait, which they have all those treble hooks on them, so they're a little bit dicey when you reach down to try to grab a fish by its mouth when there's treble hooks hanging everywhere. You don't want to get hooked. And so I reached down and I grabbed the fish, and I couldn't quite get my hand in his mouth right. And he shook his head again and got off, and the lure popped off and swam away. And I mean, I had my hand in his mouth, and somehow he got away. You never forget those things either, but that's what makes it fun. I mean, when you're fishing, you can make memories that last a lifetime, whether it's the big one you caught or the one that got away. It beats the heck out of a typical day at the office where they all come and go and you don't remember a single one of them 10 years later. I can still remember all these great fishing happenings and a lot of us can. We all can remember these special memories from times fishing.
I would think just like a golfer, that does, with certain shots he hit it, whether it's Augusta National, Pebble Beach, or just somewhere else. 2002 Bassmaster Classic champion, 3-time tour level angler of the year. He's going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, Bass Fishing Hall of Fame. Jay Yelas has been our guest. Jay, as far as fishing itself, and what right now is some people are doing a lot of things they weren't doing before. A lot of times they have more time. But when you were about to win the Bassmaster Classic, is that like sleeping on the lead, entering the final round of the Masters? How was all that? How was that experience for you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's the Bassmaster Classic in fishing is comparable to the Masters golf tournament to a pro golfer. So it's our biggest tournament of the year. It's like the World Championship. So yeah, and the one that I won, the Classic I won, I was actually in the lead all 3 days, and that was about the 12th time I'd competed in that tournament. I'd never won it before, and I'd never even been in contention before, really, going into the final day. And so, I had a huge lead though. I had like a 10-pound lead, which is like a 10-stroke lead for a golfer going into the final day. And so you're feeling pretty confident. You just know that you're kind of locked in, man. You just got in a zone. You can't wait to get back out there and just keep casting and fishing. And I had a really good spot that the fish were schooled up on, and it started petering out on the final day. And I didn't have a fish till about 10 a.m. on the final day, which got you, a little bit of a gut check, but I was able to stay after it. And then the fish they'd been biting in the best in the middle of the day anyhow, when there was a little more current being generated below a dam. And anyway, they started biting, and I caught them that last day and ended up winning by about 6 or 7 pounds. So it was a huge thrill for me, the highlight of my career.
And also the Hall of Fame coming up hopefully early on this fall. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate your time very much.
Thank you. You guys have a good one.
Jay Yelas with us on SicEm365 Radio. Coming up next, the NCAA had that 31-page document, and I have to admit I've tried to read through it. Couldn't do it. Paul, you've done a little bit with it. Craig's done a little bit with it. Well, I even got a text from Carl Campbell, who's listening to us on 365 Radio, SicEm365 Radio. Let's let theathletic.com college football writer and columnist Max Olson help us out. And he's next on SicEm365 Radio.
Waco, Texas, our city of remarkable growth and opportunity with an even brighter future ahead. What makes it all work is our people living, working, and growing together. And we're proud to be from here. helping and serving the community we call home. We are the First National Bank of Central Texas, taking great pride in being locally owned and operated. Come see us at any of our 5 convenient locations. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We are open to support our community through this crisis. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Texas Board Certified Personal Injury Trial Lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
Dr. Kent Petty wants you to be the highest performance man you want to be. Are you sluggish, lack energy? Do you suffer from low sex drive? Petty Clinic Low T offers discounted comprehensive lab work to check on your various levels that can make a difference. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy and stamina and improved sex drive, but also the healthiest and high performance man. Screening for cardiac heart disease risk, EKG, cholesterol panel, blood pressure monitoring, testosterone or growth hormone deficiency, male infertility, hepatitis C, and prostate cancer screening. Petty Clinic Low T offers replacement therapy for testosterone or growth hormones, weight management therapy, and nutritional advice. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy, stamina, and improved sex drive, but the healthiest and highest performance man. PettyClinicLowT.com, PettyClinicLowT.com on Old Hewitt Road, just off Highway 84 in Woodward. PettyClinicLowT.com.
Hi, this is Conley football coach Shane Anderson. I'm a proud listener and supporter of the all-new SicEm365 radio show with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Texas Board Certified Personal Injury Trial Lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
This is Waco, and this is Boozer's Jewelers. When locals want luxurious jewelry and at a competitive price, they come here. This is Brad Boozer. He's the owner of Boozer's Jewelers. Boozer's is the premier wedding ring store. They specialize in loose diamonds and wedding rings. At Boozer's, they have 7 jewelry counters dedicated to wedding rings and diamonds only. They also specialize in heirloom jewelry, custom jewelry, watches, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Stop on in today and discover why the locals trust Boozer's for their jewelry.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
All right, Max Olson, our good friend from theathletic.com. He's normally with us on Thursdays, but that NCAA 31-page document released today, I saw Max and others who were trying to digest it and what it all means. Max, as soon as I got past about the first paragraph, I start to lose any kind of focus on exactly what's being said, especially if there's any legalese in it. So in your opinion, what did today actually mean or say?
Yeah, let's just go through this page by page. No, I'm just kidding. I'll say this: I've seen a lot of people like praising the NCAA for taking some sort of landmark step towards name, image, and likeness compensation for players. I don't know that I'd go that far because obviously they're sort of boxed into a corner here, and they have to come up with something here because of all the political pressure on them, and deservedly so. But look, what comes out today, there's still a lot of question marks. But the list of recommendations that comes from the working group on this, I think, helps provide some clarity on sort of what this system's going to, what they hope the system looks like in terms of how we can get money pointed in the direction of these student athletes. And it does, set a pretty clear deadline that this stuff needs to get passed in January and go into effect in in time for the beginning of the 2021 school year. So, look, the deadline's coming up here, and these divisions need to, work this out between now and January and come up with something that I know I'm sure the final result will be some sort of uncomfortable compromise for everybody, but it's progress.
One of the things that's going to jump off to most people is the bad news that there will be no video game. But the reason they gave Max sounds to me like there's not going to be a video game because the last thing they want is for the players to unionize.
Yeah, that's the worst news of all for folks like me who absolutely love playing the old NCAA football video games. I was hopeful that could be, that EA could consult on this process and that could be something that we could get out of this. And I think clearly the working group that put this together understands that that's going to be one of the big bullet points that people are mad about is look, the sort of the group rights that are required to sort of facilitate this so that EA Sports can pay players for their likeness to put into a video game. That's an issue that is a little bit messier and that the NCAA doesn't really want to get into and solve. I think they'll have to address it. I think they understand they're going to have to address it. But they're making the argument right now that, look, it's easier for the video games to work with pro sports leagues because they have players unions who can sort of establish the rules for that stuff. And the NCAA doesn't, not only do they not have a players union, but they absolutely do not want one. So that is an issue that is still unresolved right now, and it's disappointing to a lot of us. But trust me, there's going to be a lot of people that are motivated to carve out some sort of compromise on that, and I certainly hope that in the future, and I know players hope too, that in the future, that can be something that comes back to life.
Max, I was reading portions of what was put out there, and one part kind of caught my eye, or one of the takeaways caught my eye is, so for example, a player under this working theory could say, hey, I'm Baylor quarterback Jacob Zeno for Crown Ford or whatever kind of deal. But they can't say they're from the Big 12. They can't, there's certain still things that are off limits, correct, as far as the general idea of being able to use name, image, likeness?
Yeah, that's the thing. I think the NCAA is uncomfortable with the idea of Jacob Zeno even saying I'm Baylor quarterback Jacob Zeno, right? So I think that's the tough thing here. But I'm interested to see sort of like how this manifests when it does become permissible, because I think certainly for this generation of student athletes, I think they look at this world and see all the people who have found a way to monetize their Instagrams or YouTube or Twitch or whatever. Like, there is money to be made in that space, and I think there's a big opportunity there. And I think that I think these kids are smart about it, know how to do it. You see when they become pro athletes, they're doing more and more of it these days as that generation. And so I think there's a big opportunity there, and it's going to be really interesting to see how schools support that and help them build their brand and their earning potential, because I think that's going to become a big deal in recruiting and in what these schools tell student athletes about. When you come here, we're going to help you take your brand to another level.
Yeah, that's just an entirely, and I think there are some athletic departments that have already started that. I believe we've talked to Mac Rhodes about it, something similar to that. All right, so there's part of this document, the future considerations that eventually gets back to, I believe, the video game deal. I saw what Andy Staples said, and then you retweeted him. Here's Andy Staples on the future considerations about the impediments, legal impediments, the NCAA, whatever. The last paragraph of the NCAA's report comes from the Presidential Subcommittee on Congressional Action. It's as if someone tapped someone else on the shoulder and said, hey, we're going to get killed here if we can't figure out a way to give people the damn video game back.
There's no doubt. I mean, I think that's one of the things that, I'm sure that leaves a lot of folks sort of scratching their heads about, like, why do these people care about their damn video game so much? But this is one of the things that has there hasn't been a new NCAA football video game since 2013 due to the O'Bannon lawsuit and due to all the issues that come with that. But if you ask college football players and you ask fans, like, they absolutely want it back. They want it on, Xbox One and PS4 and all that. And it's something that should be a very easy way for these student athletes to earn a little bit of money off their name, image, and likeness, and it's something that they want and have wanted and have missed. And right now, the NCAA, it's not to say that can never happen, but right now the NCAA is definitely very uncomfortable about what it would take to get that back.
Well, to me, it sounds like, because at the time we were told you can't have the video game because of name, image, and likeness. It's like telling you, no, you can't have ice cream because it's poison. And then they say, there's no more poison in ice cream. Yeah, but you still can't have the ice cream. That's exactly how I read that. It was like,
well, and look, I've seen some people like Dan Cannell say, well, look, there's just, if EA Sports has to pay all these guys, it's just a money-losing process. That's absolutely wrong. The demand for the game
is huge.
So high
that
people would absolutely pay, and EA would absolutely, I think, invest to develop a new game for it because I think they realize this is a massive opportunity and something that people have waited on a long time. And look, right now we're all sitting around in our houses wishing we had a new video.
Here's Carl Campbell, who listens to the show. I don't know if this is something that is towards you, but I'm going to read it. Guys, I have a question for you to talk about if you can. I was thinking about the Olympics and college athletics. So Olympic athletes are not allowed to go to college and compete due to sponsorships. Will this new rule allow swimmers and gymnasts who have major multi-million-dollar deals to finally compete for a college? As of now, they have to basically choose school or country.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not the king expert of all this stuff, so I could be wrong here. But I think I believe that making these changes, the purpose of this is to try and right some of those wrongs. Where why has that been okay for for younger athletes to collect that kind of stuff, but not everybody else. And so yeah, I think there will be those opportunities. And honestly, I've talked to folks who really do believe. Now, you may sort of like roll your eyes at the idea that Baylor's group of sponsors and stuff would get behind sponsoring student athletes and stuff. But I've talked to some folks who really do believe this can be like $1 million kind of business. That there will be this much demand and opportunity for businesses to. This is just a different way to support the athletic department, and it's not just football. I think it goes beyond that, and for a lot of these Olympic sport athletes and stuff that don't have the prominence of football and men's basketball, like this is kind of their chance to cash in when they're in college.
Would this give, because you hear about the money that people make, the colleges, the programs that already make a ton of money, would this give some universities that you may not think because they're more isolated? I've seen someone write a story about Nebraska, and that's where, of course, you're heavy right there, or even Waco, Texas, or College Station, or Tuscaloosa, and some of these are bigger schools, A&M and Alabama. Would it matter, really? I mean, does that even the playing field for some schools that otherwise do not have the kind of oomph or size to compete with some of the others?
Yeah. Now, look, you're going to hear a lot of people say, "Well, this is just going to make the rich richer in college football," but that's already the case, right? We already have 8 to 10 programs that are the only ones that are contending for national titles every year for the most part. So, I don't think that's going to change the landscape that much. But I think there's some truth to that. I think that you certainly know that with how it is in Nebraska, Smokey, that I think there's when that's the only show in the entire state, there's a ton of support for it, and people that if they're told this is the way you can support Nebraska athletics now, they're going to go for it. So Nebraska and those sort of programs should be all for it. And I already saw a tweet this morning from Texas's recruiting coordinator who shared this news today and just said, basically that the Austin, Texas market is greater than anything. And I think that's how it's going to be now. I think this is not to call it just another arms race, but I think this is something that the smart schools are realizing we need to get ahead of this for 2021 because there's a real chance here to leverage it.
Well, Max, I've always thought, sometimes people say, oh, this school can never be good because they're in the middle of nowhere. Nobody wants to go to school there. Now, if you have a good enough product, I mean, that I never believed that. It's always about the coach and the system and everything that works there. But now, if you're Austin, then yeah, you probably have an advantage over Fayetteville.
Yeah, I think there's some truth to that. And, it's interesting. I'm curious to see. Like, I know that the old school interpretation of this is like, well, what does this mean? Like, autograph signings at car dealerships and stuff like that. No, I think a lot of it goes to social media and to sponsored posts on Twitter and Instagram and stuff like that. And I think there's even more basic stuff that I think can really benefit the student athlete. Like, you could see, couldn't you imagine that if they're allowed to, that players for Baylor could maybe host camps back in their hometown and get paid for things like that? I mean, I think there's lots of ways for these student athletes to take advantage of this. And I think it's important, like I said, for these college programs to help prepare them for it and how to do it in a smart way.
Max, thank you, man. Thank goodness there's some stories along the way with that events. Obviously, we want to see that. And do you see where a lot of these colleges are starting to have? They're saying we're going to start our fall semester, right? It's kind of like a lot of these campuses seem to be opening up. Does that have anything to do with hope, or is that just a drop in the bucket when it comes to college football?
Hey, it's probably, you could probably write that off as some wishful thinking, but we could all use some wishful thinking right now.
Yeah, we
right?
could. Yeah. Thanks, buddy.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Max Olson, theathletic.com. Craig's the one that started a segment with him a long, long time ago. It's great for us to be able to keep it with what we'll try to keep him at around 4 o'clock Thursdays, but when things NCAA are available, we want to bring him on.
Yeah, that was a really good question from Carl Campbell that I hadn't thought about that was good to get a little bit of an answer on. But I think what you can tell there is everybody's still kind of like, I don't know. Yeah. Like everybody's still like, we're making progress and we're doing certain things here and there. But ultimately, the story of today was nothing happened.
That's
nothing changed.
My thing is, it takes 6 weeks or 6 months. And then really, did you say anything?
No, you just said we'll be more supportive of the idea. That's all you've really done.
Nothing really was accomplished.
You know what today said was like, all right, you got us.
Yeah.
we've run out of arguments. So now we're gonna bury down into the minutia because it was an argument in 1968. Yes, it's an argument of pro versus, because it's not at that time. Come on, there's one game on television a week, maybe two. It wasn't a big deal. Now, every game's on television. People can read the news and say, hey, the Big 12 Conference just made $1 billion deal with so-and-so. And you're like, well, wait a minute. I can't make money off my own name? Just my name, not even the Big 12 Conference. I can't, Paul Catalina, student athlete, Florida State University, if I was there, walk out and say, hey, you know what I like? I like this pizza place. I can't do that. That's silly.
Yeah, it'd be, I'm Charlie Brewer. Well, who are you, Charlie Brewer? You can't say you're from Baylor. You can just, I'm generic random quarterback for some school I can't say right now. Charlie Brewer for Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, Yep. That's so silly. It should be all in or all out. It should be all in as far as that goes, in my opinion. But I understand why the schools have an argument there. It's just, again, nothing changed today. It was just the NCAA basically throwing their hands up because they have no more excuses, like Paul said, and now they're basically not telling us anything other than we're going to have a lot more discussion. So I can't wait till 6 months from now when we get an update on they've moved like a certain step forward, but they're still 6 years from it actually occurring.
It's all trying to delay, like treading water. Elizabeth Crisp, she's a D.C. reporter. So she put this out. Amid serious talk of restarting sporting events, a new Morning Consult poll finds 2 in 5 people already say they would be okay with going to an event this year. 76% of fans say hand sanitizer stations would make them feel more comfortable. Ross Dellinger, who's our buddy, who was on the day that Aranda was announced to be the new football coach, if you polled only SEC fans, it would be 6 of 5 people.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Hey, and
you would say they're going back.
Well, and look, Baton Rouge is one of the hardest hit places in the Louisiana as a whole. Been hit really hard, and I just think people there would be like, "Look, we've already been through it. Let's go."
All right. And I just want to make mention, everybody's out and about and feeling a little bit freer. I know a lot of people are still making the decision to stay at home more often than not, which is really what we should still be doing, because this isn't a call to like, hey, just go back to what you were doing 3 months ago. No, it's be safe, wear a mask when you're outside or at the grocery store, and it's wash your hands still with regularity and all those things. And as a matter of fact, one thing we got to be very careful with is, amidst the excitement of maybe things opening back up, the other side of that is that we could be walking right into a second wave and a second problem. Germany Miami, who seem to have like a really good grasp on everything, they're suddenly seeing a big, massive wave of infections because, it's not completely controllable, and so that's what we're looking to avoid.
We're also not reporting all the infections because we don't have all the tests.
And
so it's
that.
like there's all this incomplete. We're playing.
So you hear about this possibility of being able to go into theaters or doing. What really has changed since they shut things down?
No, I mean that would be it.
What?
I mean that would be the only thing that would change is you could now go into these places. But if you're worried about it,
what's
you're
changed with the virus?
Not much.
Then why are we doing that? I am pro living life. You know that, and you guys are both sometimes trying to calm me down. I've been on the record. I'm not being ridiculously stupid here, but I'm still going to the grocery store, and I'm not, and I know, but so all of a sudden you hear from people who have been non-existent for the last 4 to 6 weeks that they shut themselves down and doing whatever they do, and all of a sudden they start creeping out of the house. What's changed?
Not much.
Well, the thing that's changed is that
we'll have John Machota on the Cowboys next.
We ran the risk if we didn't do anything as far as staying at home and the stay-at-home orders of having a massive wave of people infecting each other. And so that was the stay-at-home was to try and limit the spread. That's why we kept hearing limit the spread. So they've limited the spread to the point now where they have more data, more information, and more to work with and more of an idea. And so they feel freer about allowing people to go to and fro to a certain extent. It's not that so much has changed, is that I think the laying low for a little while actually helped out and prevented the spread, because if we'd not done anything, then it could have gotten really, really ugly in a hurry.
All right, coming up next, John Machota. The Cowboys picked up a veteran cornerback overnight. That story, and also what they've lost or what they've gained. Is it really one-sided with what they've gained? He's next from theathletic.com and the Cowboys on SicEm365 Radio.
I am due for a trip to Riverbend Liquor and Wine. They have their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location, so you can just call them up and say, here's what I'd like. Or you can just go up to the drive-thru if you haven't made up your mind and tell them, like, I would like maybe a bottle of Balcones, single malt, or pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, brimstone. They've got all that stuff. Plus, they've got Crown Royal Peach in stock and an unbelievable selection of craft beer. Call them, tell them, I bet you they got it. It's unreal, the selection of craft beer that they have in their store, corner of Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street, a hidden gem in Waco. Again, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financials, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like these, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illness and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please, remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe. Together, we'll get through this.
This is Waco, and this is Boozer's Jewelers. When locals want luxurious jewelry and at a competitive price, they come here. This is Brad Boozer. He's the owner of Boozer's Jewelers. Boozer's is the premier wedding ring store. They specialize in loose diamonds and wedding rings. At Boozer's, they have 7 jewelry counters dedicated to wedding rings and diamonds only. They also specialize in heirloom jewelry, custom jewelry, watches, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Stop on in today and discover why the locals trust Boozer's for their jewelry.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa drap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
This is SicEm365 Radio. The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers. Staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Pitch out to McCormick. Good use of the blocking, but then just obliterated by Chris Miller.
Now back to SicEm365 Radio, presented by IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
We started the show today with the SicEm365 All-Decade team on offense. We've gotten some great response. We'll get back to the Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line, also from the Willis Law Firm chat room and from Twitter. We've heard from Corey Coleman. We'll hear from Cameron Kaufhold at 5:30. We're now joined by John Machota, theathletic.com. John, Daryl Worley, what is it? How did they get this? And then how does this affect whoever was playing cornerback?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I really don't think it's going to have much effect at all. It's just a one-year deal type thing he's got veteran experience, obviously, and he has the ability to play safety and corner. So I think it's just another veteran body to kind of mix in there in case you don't know for sure, what you have in your young guys in Trayvon Diggs and Reggie Robinson. But it's very hard for me to listen to what Mike McCarthy and Will McClay have been saying over the last 2 to 3 days about Reggie Robinson and Trayvon Diggs for me to think that they're not going to give them a lot of opportunities to play immediately. I mean, that's exactly what they look for. So I think it's a little bit like kind of how they signed Maurice Canaday. It's another body that is a veteran guy that has experience. So if you need him, you can go with him. But they didn't draft Trayvon Diggs in the second and Reggie Robinson in the fourth to just, give them a redshirt year. If those guys can contribute, they're going to want to have them out there.
John, I can't think of a kind of, I don't know if it was luck or just, their plan that the draft could have fallen any better for the Cowboys with what happened.
Yeah, I mean, luck has to play a role. I mean, because certain players have to fall to you. I mean, you can do certain moves. Obviously, they did that with Tyler Biadasz, the center out of Wisconsin, to move into the end of that fourth round. But other than that, they just stayed where they were at and took the best players they had on their board, which we knew right away that was what they were doing when Caleb Chason was still there, which, over covering the last 9 drafts before this for the Cowboys, thinking that's exactly what the Jason Garrett, Rod Marinelli staff probably would have done. To pass on that, to add a CeeDee Lamb, just really showed you they were going to take the absolute best player available, and then it kind of followed there through on out, because Trayvon Diggs is the guy that they talked about in round 1, and they got him in 2. And Neville Gallimore was the guy that they talked about in round 2, and they ended up getting him in round 3. And then Bradley and I there at that last pick of the 5th. I mean, if you watch that draft on whatever show or just paid attention online, you knew Bradley and I was the guy going into the 4th round on that 3rd day that people were talking about, like, hey, this is one of the top pass rushers still available. I know he didn't run a great 40 time, but man, he was really productive on a really good Utah defense. And to be able to get him at the end of the 5th round, it just kept falling their way. But at the same time, it falls your way, you still got to take advantage of it.
John, what do you think about the way CeeDee Lamb is used? I mean, specifically, what kind of player will he be versus their other 2 star type wide receivers in Gallup and Amari Cooper? What will his role, you think, be, and how will he be different from those 2?
Well, I think at the very least he fills in for that replacement at slot receiver with the loss Randall Cobb to the Texans, and I think it starts from there, and then however much he can handle, it goes from there. Because one of the things about that Cowboys team last year is they were number one in yards per game, and they obviously scored points, and they were one of the better offenses. But there was a time down the stretch there where they were really starting to get stale, and they were looking for something to kind of be a spark. Well, you shouldn't have a problem with that with CeeDee Lamb, because a lot of the stuff that he did in college, especially with having Kellen Moore as being your OC, he's been adapting a lot of that stuff since he's become the OC with the Cowboys. And so this isn't going to be one of those deals where let's wait a year or two and we'll try and work him in. No, they're going to have wrinkles and plays and things like that for CD right off the bat. And, he can play in the slot, and he obviously has done a lot on the outside with his size, but I think you can see him a lot too in jet sweeps and things like that. Just any way they can possibly get the ball in his hand, I think that's what they're going to do. And just having him out on the field, I think opens things up for everybody else, for Amari, for Gallup, for Ezekiel Elliott, for Blake Jarwin. And so, I think he hits the ground running and he gets in there and he's used in a variety of ways. It wasn't their biggest need, but wide receiver was one of their needs. And I don't know if they could have got a better one than they did in CeeDee Lamb.
The departures that include the retirement of Travis Frederick and then Byron Jones, Robert Quinn, and others that leave, Jason Witten, Jeff Heath, all these that leave. Obviously, Frederick is a huge loss. Who's the second most difficult to take to replace? No matter what you've done with the draft, who will be second and third most difficult to replace?
Well, I would say it would have to be Robert Quinn and then Byron Jones. With the draft, obviously they were able to do some stuff to at least make up for the loss of Byron Jones. Whereas pass rusher, you get a guy to get you double-digit sacks like Robert Quinn. I don't know where that's going to come from. And it's not like you can just find one of those guys on the street for cheap. It's really hard to pull off a move like they did last year where they, were able to trade for him and only give up a 6th round pick. And then now they're going to get a pretty nice compensatory pick in return for losing him. But, I know that there's guys out there like Everson Griffin and Marcus Golden and J.W. and Clowney. And maybe eventually if they think that they need that type of player, they go out and pull the trigger. But I just think losing Robert Quinn, I don't know where you're going to find that other guy to play opposite of DeMarcus Lawrence, because it's pretty scary if you're counting on Randy Gregory and Aldon Smith to kind of fill that role. And then obviously you have younger guys in Dorrance Armstrong and Bradley Anai and Joe Jackson in that. But that to me is their biggest loss right now outside of Travis. And it's after the draft now over, it still is their biggest area of need.
Would you even say, Jadeveon Clowney, you mentioned him. To me, I just think that they would have to wait, like everyone else is seeming to do with Jadeveon Clowney, it's just wait him out to his lowest point.
Yeah, I think where you could possibly have some success there, and I know that there's other teams that are interested and are doing the exact same thing. So I'm not saying the Cowboys have a realistic chance. They really don't. They're not really in the mix on him or anything like that. But maybe if his price comes down low enough, the reports where I think it was in the upper teens, almost to $20 million per year is what he was looking for. Obviously, he's not getting close to that because he still hasn't been signed yet. And so maybe you get to a point where he's kind of willing to just play for 1 year as kind of a prove-it deal, because he's like, well, I didn't get the market that I thought I was going to get. I didn't think I was going to have the interest. So instead of looking for some multi-year deal, why don't I come play for you for, $13, $14 million for one season and try and, put out a Robert Quinn type year and then sit there and reap the benefits. And I mean, it does seem intriguing if you came over to the Cowboys, because you're going to have DeMarcus Lawrence on the other side. You got guys in the middle like Don Terry Poe and Gerald McCoy and Neville Gallimore and some other pieces that, could put you in a good situation. So if they're willing to spend the money, I could see how it would be an attractive spot for someone like that. And until one of those guys signs, you can't completely close the book, because those are double-digit sack type guys that, there's just not a lot of them out there.
Undrafted free agents are something that people get excited about, although the chance for the majority of those guys to make the team is slim, but there are contributors. Is there anybody out of the undrafted free agent class that raised your eyebrows at all?
Not really. The one guy I would say is the Francis Bernard from Utah, the linebacker, just because he was a guy that, working at the Athletic. I talked to Dane Brugler a lot, and I just feel like he's the best in the business when it comes to all this draft stuff. And he does it. I mean, it's his full-time job all year round. And he was the guy that Dane had as being a potential 4th, 5th round pick. And that Utah defense was just loaded, as you saw several players come off that defense and get drafted. And, Mike McCarthy even said after the draft that, he's probably watched more Utah film of their defense in the last couple of months just because of how many players that they had than he's watched of their defense probably his entire coaching career. And so he obviously caught this guy and a guy that just kind of didn't get drafted, fell through the cracks, and could potentially be an extra linebacker that they end up keeping on the roster. So I thought that was a pretty good value there. I know they got a couple of wide receivers, like kid from A&M, and then there's a couple of TCU running backs, and there's this Rico Dowdell from South Carolina. Maybe one of those guys makes it on the team as one of those lower level running backs. But other than that, no, nobody really jumped out at me. I will say that the Cowboys said that they had 11 players still on their board that were available after the draft was over, and they signed 7 of them. And so some of those guys I mentioned right there, Sean McKeon, I think his name is, the tight end from Michigan. I believe it's another one. And so maybe there's another spot where maybe a guy can make the team. But I don't think that there's going to be any major impact guy coming off of the undrafted rookie free agents. But of course, I say that now, and then maybe someone surprises you.
John, was the thing we can kind of grab out of the Will McClay and Mike McCarthy draft philosophy after the first one is it's players over fit. Over scheme, really.
Yeah, and it's funny because I was a little skeptical of all of this because from the very first press conference that Mike McCarthy did throughout the combine, and then even in the pre-draft presser, a lot of the stuff he was saying was just music to the ears of anybody that has been following the Cowboys and wanted a change from the last regime. It was a lot of, like you said, it was find the top player and we'll fit him to our scheme, which that clearly wasn't the case. Under Rod Marinelli and the Jason Garrett staff, they had their scheme fit and they tried getting guys to fit to it. I'm not saying that they never drafted guys outside of it, but that's one of the things that they kind of focused in on, particularly on defense. And so to see them kind of go against that and actually prove it in this draft, I think is really intriguing people and kind of jump-started some folks that probably were sitting there looking at yeah, I'll kind of believe it when I see it. But to sit there and right off the bat get CeeDee Lamb and then they have the draft fall the rest of the way it has, it's intriguing right now. I mean, I'm not saying that the Cowboys, are up there with the Chiefs or 49ers as Super Bowl favorites, but I don't think you can name a lot of other teams that you would say is significantly better than the Cowboys are right now. So the draft does one thing for sure, and that's give hope. And especially coming off of last year's draft where your first pick was Tristan Hill, who didn't play very much at all, I think this draft is selling a lot of hope to Cowboys fans.
Yeah, and they drafted him, and yet in the offseason they had to add Gerald McCoy and Dontero Poe.
Yeah, I wonder if he gets shipped off
and drafted Gallup,
a la Taco Charlton here eventually.
Yeah, it seems very clear that Rod Marinelli looked for a certain type of defensive lineman, and it doesn't seem like those are the type of defensive linemen that Mike Nolan and Jim Tom Sula are looking for on this new defense. It sounds like they want to get a lot bigger in the middle. That's what they had said going into free agency in the draft. And then, you add Dontero Poe and Gerald McCoy and then draft Neville Gallimore. And that certainly appears to be, what they're doing. And then you still have Tyrone Crawford that can play on the inside. And, Tristan Hill was the guy that, really bonded well with Rod Marinelli, and it didn't end up working out there. So it'll be interesting to see how he fits in with this new group. Like I've said before, I think the best thing that could possibly happen is that, Gerald McCoy kind of takes him under his wing and kind of gets him on track and maybe, they get some production that way. But it remains to be seen just because we didn't see very much of him last year.
Thank you. As always, John, thank you for your time. That's John Machota. TheAthletic.com covers the Cowboys with us on Wednesdays at 5 o'clock.
Pretty good draft class for the Cowboys. I mean, you can't argue with CeeDee Lamb. That's a great selection, and their offense will be mighty potent, and he will have a heck of a time, I think, jostling with Michael Gallup for that number 2 wide receiver spot over time. He's just so talented, but Gallup is as well. So, they are completely loaded at receiver for the next few years, and I like some of their other selections as well. It didn't seem like they had too many needs, unlike some teams entering the draft, and we're able to address pretty much all of them, although not all of them. As he pointed out there, there's still a couple of question marks. But I really like the Cowboys draft and haven't seen too many others out there who review such things that have had nary a bad word to really say.
When they started when you let players fall in your lap without overreaching or overextending, it's just smart. You're not going to always get everybody, but it seems like they've done that a lot. And the thing is, I would love to have known what they would have done if, in fact, CeeDee Lamb and K'Lavon, is that right?
K'Lavon
Chasen were on their board at like 5 and 6 or 12 and 13 or 21 and 22, and their pick comes up. Not 21 and 22, because then it would be you could trade down. But you come up on 17. If both of them were on the board exactly alike, or Chason was slightly rated higher, I still think, even in that case, Jerry could not bypass a weapon, an offensive weapon.
I don't think so either.
I think CeeDee Lamb's more of a sure thing than Chason is. I think.
No. I know.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, if they were both on the board, like A1 and A2, ranked almost identical, Jerry was going to take the offensive player.
Right. I mean, he probably would just in general, but I just think that's the good pick. Period. I think Jason Garrett got into that habit of like, well, we need this, and so we must draft this, and he wouldn't have gotten CeeDee Lamb. He would have gotten Chason, and maybe Chason works out or maybe not. But, yeah, Jerry is probably going to go offense more than he'll ever go defense, unless it's just some, like, super flashy safety or something like that he's coveted for so long. But I think regardless of how separate they were or how close they were in their evaluations, I do think the Cowboys made the right pick because, Chason's really, really good. But I just think Lamb could have an even bigger impact, and that's with him having to share the ball quite a bit.
We're going to come back and digest the all-decade Baylor football team, and I get a little bit, I don't think, frustrated. But when I take 3 players from the 2010 to 2019, 3 wide receivers, not 5, not 12, but 3. And here are the ones we selected on SicEm365. Brian Etheridge again wrote the article, and all of the staff voted. And the first thing I get was, what about Gerald McNeil?
What about him?
It's the 2010 to 2019 decade. I wonder sometimes if anyone's reading, and believe me, I have an attention issue as well. And so some of you have responded to who you would have put instead. And the one that's going to get bumped probably every time would be Denzel Mims for those who want to add somebody else. We'll come back with that if you want to on the Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line. If you had to pick 3 receivers from the 2010 to 19 decade, who would you say are the 3 best that would be your all-decade wide receiver? What we did as a group and voted, 9 of us, I think, or whatever the number was Corey Coleman, Kendall Wright, and Denzel Mims. And yes, there's probably a little freshness about Denzel being who he was. Who would you be if you took somebody off? Who would it be? And who would you replace him with? But not say, hey, what about Terrence Williams, or what about Goodley, or what about Jay Lee, or what about... Then you have 4, 5, and 6. Who would your 3 be? We'll do that next on the Willis Law Firm chat room on SicEm365.com, and also the Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line at 254-339-1122. Let's go.
Are you in the market for a new home, or are you trying to sell your current home? You need to call my friend Lance Donaldson and the Donaldson family team, brokered by eXp Realty, and let them be your go-to source as you search for your perfect home. Lance is one of the best listeners I've ever met in my life. Very compassionate person, very fun guy to hang around with, funny dude, family man. I mean, just great stories you're going to hear from Lance. A great guy just to sit and have a conversation with, and he's going to listen to every single thing that you say about your life and your house and your needs. He's going to do that because that's the kind of guy that Lance Donaldson is, and he is going to take that information and he's going to help you find that perfect home and help you sell your current home, because that's what he does. He's been flipping houses. I say flipping houses. He's been closing houses left and right all month long, even during this crazy, crazy time. So give him a call, 254-214-3713, or visit his webpage, lancedonaldson.exprealty.com.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
We're approaching the time to announce the 10th annual Academic All-Stars team, 20 elite student athletes who excel in both academic and athletic competition from Central Texas high schools. And right now, focused on the nominations that have come through so many great young men and women to choose from. Hi, this is David Smoke. Our title sponsor, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952. 2020 Academic All-Stars program is also brought to you by
Westdale Asset Management, Englander Design Pack, Bentwood Realty, Southwest Sports Medicine, Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, Coca-Cola of Waco, Ray Broker Air Conditioning and Heating, the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, HEB, the McLean Group, Universal Windows Direct, Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, and the Waco Foundation.
We will announce the team on Friday, May the 1st, and highlight them throughout the month of May. It's the 10th annual Academic All-Stars team, highlighting the elite student athletes in Greater Central Texas, right here on SicEm365 Radio.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
We are facing some unique challenges at this time. We want to do our part to support not only our community, but our medical providers who are really overtasked right now. Governor Greg Abbott has required dental offices to postpone all elective dental procedures, but still be available for dental emergencies. At this time, dental emergencies are those that are defined as something that would make somebody consider going to the emergency room for treatment. We're offering to see you at our office Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 8 to noon, and we will waive all fees. We're doing this to support the community and support the medical system. This will allow the overtasked medical community to focus on the truly needy at this time. In the midst of what seems to be so much gloomy news, we want to send a positive signal of our faith in our community and in each other. We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're 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 all in this together. We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. Thank you and God bless.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
We will hear from Cameron Kaufhold, former Baylor offensive lineman. His reaction to the All-Decade team. Earlier we heard from All-American Biletnikoff Award winner Giants receiver Corey Coleman. Kyle Fuller joins us tomorrow, offensive lineman who's a part of the All-Decade team. But one of the notes that started off the show is that Kyron Drones, a quarterback at state champion Shadow Creek, 6'2", 195-pound senior to be, class of 2021, threw for 3,402 yards passing, 46 touchdowns, ran for 825 yards, 18 touchdowns. They won the 5A state championship. He committed to Dave Aranda. Auburn, Georgia Tech, Vanderbilt, Michigan State, Arkansas. Nice. He's a 4-star guy. And so that's where Baylor has when it comes to their class of 2021 with quarterback. All right. Today, Paul Catalina, is Military Brats Day. If your parent was in the military and you followed them into service, share your story. Well, we didn't do that.
No, absolutely not. And that's good for, at least for me, for the armed services of this country, because I don't I don't really think that they'd have put me on a desk. That's what would have happened to me. I'd have been really good on a desk in the military.
Like, you would have been like, what's the guy's name? Radar?
Yeah. You know what job I would have been good at? In A Few Good Men, where that scene where he's talking about who is William T. Santiago, and you kind of see their whole plan to not ship him off the base, and he sarcastically calls in his assistant and goes, Tom, get the president on the phone. I'd have been that guy who goes, yes, sir. Okay, no, we won't call the president.
I thought this was interesting. I didn't see a date here. I guess it will be actually, no, there's no date, but NASCAR team owner Richard Childress auctioning off one of the racing legend Dale Earnhardt's cars to raise money for coronavirus relief funds and efforts in North Carolina. The Charlotte Observer reports that this is the first time that Childress has ever sold or given away an original Earnhardt car from his personal collection. I don't see a date here. The eBay site for the auction doesn't include a deadline for bidding on the items, but that's also going to happen, just something that's a little bit different.
Also have this from Joe Doyle, who covers minor league baseball and does some stuff with various websites like Baseball America and Lookout Landing. And he says, citing several sources in minor league baseball, that there will be no minor league baseball season this year, and that Major League Baseball is looking at expanding rosters, so you could see some of the minor league prospects actually play with the majors teams since they won't have a season. But this is by no means going to cover like 95% of the players that are in minor league baseball. When you think of all the affiliates each of the 30 teams have, I mean, that's like 150 teams that are, composed when you include independent leagues and things like that are unaffiliated. So there's going to be thousands of baseball players with no season this year, and a few of them who actually get the benefit of getting bumped up due to some expanded rosters if this, in fact, plays out the way that Joe Doyle is reporting. There will be not a minor league baseball season, rather MLB expanded roster and a developmental league playing out of spring training facilities. So that's where you can see a lot of the other minor league guys.
Florida and Arizona.
But by the way, we haven't talked about this, but I guarantee you that most of the people who listen to this radio show and subscribe to the website that it's on, I would say that the album sales for this album for Gary Patterson that he's going to make during this downtime will be zero in our listener base.
No, there will not be any sales from our listeners.
You just gave it more time than I ever realized it was going to get.
Yeah,
by the way, we had Corey Coleman on. I got to 254-498. By the way, Corey Coleman caught 20 touchdowns in 2015. If Seth Russell stays healthy, he breaks the 27 touchdown record. Great interview. Keep them coming, Matt in D.C. From Nathan Hewitt, the Harry Callis audio with Rayfield Wright, Paul.
No, it was at Robert Brazile.
With Robert Brazile, yeah. Haven't heard that voice in years. This is Nathan Hewitt. Great audio. You just played a throwback. Grew up in North Philly. Heard him call Phillies games. Yeah, he was fantastic. Really enjoyed the flashback to our youth. Always fun. Great stuff from Nathan Hewitt. All right. Now, one other note on Twitter, and then Cameron Kaufhold will join us. From Patrick, who I think represents Lake and even probably Corey Coleman, I think, is an agent. He goes, man, I love Linwood, but Seastrunk, what he did in 2 years is unheard of. His first season, he was benched for the first 5 games because of a senior in front of him. His second year, he only played the first half most games. Lake, definitely first-team all-decade running back. Stats for Lake, had a 1,000-yard season even though he was benched for the first part. 12 touchdowns. Seastrunk might be the best running back to ever come through Baylor. Well, he had 2 spectacular years. Shock compiled over 4,000 yards rushing and
the most touchdowns.
And it's a great debate, the fact that you can debate it, but thanks for this. And Patrick, I can't respond to you because you have your account is locked. So I can't, but I did reach out to you by including you in just your name on one of my tweets. All right, coming up next, we have the all-decade Baylor team on offense 2010-19. One of the offensive linemen honored, Cameron Kaufhold, longtime friend of the show. He's next on SicEm365 Radio.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's health care clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, with Crown Royal Peach in stock right now and Balcones Whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas. Our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We are open to support our community through this crisis. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
And that ball's floating in the air and picked up by Kendall Wright. Touchdown Bears. Sometimes you'd rather be lucky than good. The bounce into the arms goes for an 87-yard touchdown.
Was that the tip pass? Yeah, I remember against Oklahoma. The all-decade team released defense. We went over that yesterday with the greatness of 30 minutes of gold with, of course, former defensive coordinator Phil Bennett. Also tomorrow, Kyle Fuller will join us. Earlier today, Corey Coleman joined us in this show that is brought to you by, sponsored by many people, the presenting sponsor, Ideal MRI, helping you save money with their MRIs, idealmri.com. Cameron Kaufhold. Paul, do you remember, Greg wasn't here yet, we developed a term for the offensive lineman that we could go to for an interview and also get insight into the locker room.
Yeah, the Godfather.
The Godfather.
He was our Don Corleone, so he was the first Godfather.
Wasn't Danny Watkins, or was he not?
Danny was
Cameron?
after.
Okay.
And then, Danny
and
was
then
right
it was
after.
Pat Troy Baker, and then others along the way.
Yeah.
Cameron Kaufhold joins us. Craig and David Smoke, Paul Catalina, SicEm365 Radio. Are you still referred to by all of your friends as the Godfather?
I don't think I've ever actually been referred to as the Godfather outside of an interview with y'all.
Well, we got to do something.
I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
Yeah, we got to do something about that. All right, so we have released, SicEm365 released an all-decade team. I'm going to put you on the spot. You played with some dudes, some that went on to play in the NFL. You now, of course, are in administration at Southwest Sports Medicine. But you played next to some dudes, and there's been others that have come along the way. You tell me who you think, if you had to pick an all-decade offensive line, Doesn't have to be two tackles or two guards. 5 offensive linemen. Who would be your 5?
Man, to be honest with you, I'm staring at a picture in my office right now of what I would argue the best offensive line. That was the 2012 team, the Holiday Bowl team. Spencer Durango, Ivory Wade, Cyril Richardson, myself, and Troy Baker. I think hands down, and I would argue Kyle would probably agree. J.D. Walton was hands down the most gifted center I'd ever seen or played against and played with. Danny Watkins, I think, hard to beat on the edge. I know he played guard in the NFL, but from just a good old firefighter from Canada who grew up playing hockey, the dude picked up football really quick and loved to be physical. So then don't tell Troy I said this, but I would put Spencer on the other side.
You're talking
Spencer
about yeah. You don't want Conley's Troy Baker. Okay, all right.
Yeah, him and I did, went the same route. Everyone else went to the NFL. We didn't. So, I would say that, Spencer's career has been much better than both of ours in the NFL. And then, Cyril Richardson there as an offensive guard was pretty special. And I've heard, I got to watch some of it, but Blake Blackmar,
yeah.
Yeah, he was pretty fun to watch. He reminded me of a more athletic version of myself. So that would probably be the crew. But I know Smoke and I have had this conversation before. That 2012 offensive line group was pretty special, and really probably most special from the standpoint of how rare it is to have the same starting 5 that you have in training camp make it into late December playing in a bowl game. No injuries, no missed games. Pretty unique to have the same crew play in 13 ball games.
Well, you almost nailed it. I mean, completely. I mean, on the first team, Drango, Cyril, Danny Watkins, Kyle Fuller, and Ivory Wade. So
you didn't say my name in that group.
Yeah, no, you are on the second team.
Honorable mention.
No. You're right there. You're right there. Now, why did we have you on the show?
Some of us fought tooth and nail for first team. I'm not going to say who, but
I'm going to tell you who didn't vote for you, and I'll give you that information after the show. And you being the Godfather can take care of them.
Their addresses and cell phone numbers.
Their address and cell phone number, and you can take care of them and throw them into Lake Waco. I don't know, but we'll let you know. Okay.
Outstanding.
You capped that season off, and you mentioned 2012. That's the team that got hot at the end that was kind of struggling a little bit because the defense was really not very good initially. But that's the one that completely obliterated UCLA in the bowl game. Was that as dominant a performance as you ever can remember?
Yeah, you bring up a funny story. I wish that would have been something that I'd like to sit around the bar and talk to Phil Bennett about. That defense in 2012. Was kind of led by Mike Hicks and safety, and he went out for 3 or 4, maybe 5 games with a meniscus, and the defense really had really no direction. And I mean, I'll be the first to say, if y'all watch that team, I mean, we were bad. That was the Nick Florence year. We were coming off a Heisman campaign, and then we got our teeth kicked in by TCU at home, and kind of put everything in perspective for us. And then that was the year that we played Colin Klein.
Yep.
Heisman hopeful at the time, undefeated, #1 Kansas State, came into Waco, and we were nobody. I want to say we were either 3-4 or 4-4 or something like that. And then we put it on them, and we never lost again. I would argue one of the hottest teams in America at that time, and then walked into the Holiday Bowl underrated, and Jim Mora had just been hired. I think he had one season at UCLA, and kind of the movie star atmosphere. We came in and kicked their teeth in.
Cameron Kaufhold, our guest on SicEm365 Radio.
Cameron, at running back, you had Shock Linwood as the first-team running back. There's an argument to be made for Lake Seastrunk as well, Terrence Ganaway. I mean, there's a lot of different names you could throw out there, but what do you think about Shock Linwood? Would you go a different direction? What are your thoughts on that?
You know, I never got to play with Shock. He was quite a bit younger than me. He was on the scout team my senior year. He was really fun to watch. I mean, dude could turn on a dime as an offensive lineman, and he did the thing that everyone wanted, and was patient. He'd find the right hole. He'd wait on lead blockers. He really did everything he wanted. Terrence was a power guy. Close his eyes and run straight. He'd run through you, whether you were wearing the same jersey or not. And then Lake had some of the most incredible speed we'd ever seen. And I heard y'all on the broadcast before I jumped on, talking about the season where he didn't play half the season. I'm pretty sure that was a 2012 year. I think it was right about the time when we were either had a losing record or were 500, somewhere middle of the road, and said, "Screw it, let's throw them in there and just making it complicated. Just say, like, you run left or you run right." And I'll never forget, he took an 80-yard zone right up the gut against Kansas State, and y'all are gonna have to help me remember his name. He was the middle linebacker for Kansas State, All-American guy. I'm picturing his number.
Was it Arthur Brown?
Arthur Brown.
Yeah, good one.
One of the most elusive linebackers we've ever had to scheme against, and he misjudged Lake's speed on a simple inside zone. And I remember there's a famous footage of it because they had the hover cam on that game, and watched Lake take a simple handoff 80 yards to the house, and watch the entire Kansas State team try to close in on him. And I mean, he ended up, 5 or 6 yards ahead of everybody in just a flat out sprint. And at that point, we were like, "Holy moly, we got to get this dude the ball." And he was a boomer bust guy. He was going to try to shake loose, and he might take a 5 or 6 yard loss, but he also might take it to the house for 50 or 60 on the very next handoff.
When you look at the guys on the offensive line that you mentioned, Feuerbacher at the I'm sorry,
tight end.
The offensive lineman that played later on. He mentioned a recent offensive lineman that was going to be part of the All-Decade team.
Oh, Connor Galvin?
No, not what we voted for.
Okay.
Did you mention one of the guys after recent years you thought was an all-decade type?
Blake Blackmar.
Blake Blackmar.
Yeah, Blackmar.
Okay. Was Drango the absolute best of all of them as far as, first of all, very highly recruited player, what he did at Baylor, and then also even the fact, even though he's been moved around now in the NFL, was he the most talented, or was there somebody else?
I'd say, I did come in my true freshman year with Jason Smith. I mean, I wouldn't have been in this decade. But Spencer, as a 19-year-old, was the most gifted from a footwork, from a hand placement, just things that, took me 5 years to learn and master. He just kind of did it on accident, or I'm sure it was on purpose, but he just kind of did it without even realizing it. Danny was the most physically empowering person I'd ever seen. And, I played with Jason Smith, so I got to see him. But Danny was one of the most physically strong people that I've ever seen. Could just physically, all he had to do was get one hand on you and he could throw you on the ground. He could move you, he could do whatever he wanted. And then I would say probably next would be J.D. Walton.
Mm-hmm.
I think J.D. just played with a level of intensity that I'd never seen matched before. My redshirt freshman year, 2009, I played in between J.D. and Danny, and it was definitely a trial by fire. But one of those years you look back on like, wow, I got to play next to two really good football players, and we weren't very good in 2009. But that was like, you being on the JV team and getting called up to play in the big leagues. So they threw 19-year-old me in between them. So that was interesting, but great learning experience for me.
Hey, the wide receivers were probably the easiest to name, at least the first couple of two, because I think Kendall Wright and Corey Coleman are pretty automatic for most people from this decade. And Denzel Mims ended up being voted the third wide receiver. I went Terrence Williams personally, but I know there's a lot of great arguments to be made. Any thoughts on the wide receivers group?
Yeah, I was waiting for you to say, P-Dub. Terrence was, even when he played for the Cowboys, was never the fastest, never the tallest, never jumped the highest. But I'll tell you, whenever we were in a pinch and, needed a first down, needed a big play, needed a touchdown, that dude was sure-handed. He always somehow came up with it. I think he should be in that same conversation. Didn't have that just top end speed like Kendall had or like Corey had. So I could see, didn't have that jump off the charts type of speed, but dude was sure-handed, and I don't know if I ever saw him drop a pass. He definitely would come down with some of the craziest balls. That I guess Kendall would be the other one that I think I heard y'all talking about, the tiptoe.
Yep.
Still to this day, the best catch I've ever seen is Kendall in the back of the end zone at K-State, 2011 maybe. We lost on the last second in Kansas State. He hit that bomb. He had two crazy catches in that game, but definitely that one where he laid out completely horizontal in the back of the end zone was one of the most special catches I've ever seen.
One more thing, Cameron Kaufhold, former Baylor offensive lineman, now at Southwest Sports Medicine. Obviously, you can't say much but what has it been like to be a part of a hospital system in the last 5 to 7 weeks?
Exhausting. It is a weird phenomenon being in a ever-changing environment. When you're not doing anything you're used to. You're not working the same hours. You're not dealing with the same, issues. You're literally just learning on the fly like everyone else is. Only problem is you're the ones expected to know everything. So it's been taxing, and I'm not on the front lines. I mean, I've got a staff of an orthopedic and sports medicine crew that, people are still getting hurt. People are in pain, so we're trying to do whatever we can to facilitate that. But trying to do it in a safe way. It's an ever changing, moving target, and then always have it in the back of our mind that the shoe could drop, and we got to be ready for the worst case scenario at all times. And Glenn Robinson here at Hillcrest, if you've ever met him, one of the most effective leaders I've ever met in my life. Just has a calming nature about him. So in a time period like this, kind of having somebody with a calm mentality at the helm really helps, because you can't turn on the news or go on the internet without seeing panic. So we kind of got to be the calming force in all this.
Cameron, always great to talk to you, man. Hope to see you soon. Thank you for your time, flashing back to the entire decade of some great offensive linemen that Randy Clements coached, and then eventually a little bit of George DeLeon and then Sean Bell. Thanks for your time, and good luck handling everything.
Glad I could be mentioned. Appreciate y'all.
Cameron Kaufhold. He has a little subtle sense of jab to some of what he says.
Oh, always did. I do like that he did get a shot in at Troy Baker.
Yeah, anytime.
You know what? That was a name that it slipped my mind, honestly. And there were a couple, and I had to kind of go back. But yeah, it's just.
Man, I love Troy Baker.
I do too. I haven't been around as long as you guys. Paul's been around the longest, and then Smokey has me by 3-4 years or whatever. So I kind of my base really starts around that 2013 team, but I've gone back and I've talked to former players and things like that. Troy Baker was very much in that wheelhouse, and yet I don't know. There's just so many names that you think you're thinking of everybody, but you ultimately kind of inevitably, when trying to put together a 10-year stretch of players, might forget somebody. So it's good to have various voices to be there to fill in the blanks when you're having a blank.
I always, and for whatever reason, he was highly decorated. He was a part of the second team, was Blake Muir. Because, he came in, and I just got used to them doing what they did with their offensive line, and Randy Clements was so good at it. And now at Ole Miss, who I don't know if they'll play Baylor in the opening game or not.
I'm saying no.
Randy Clements was to transfers in the offensive line what Scott Drew is to transfers
in basketball,
because he could just find this guy. I mean, he never recruited a guy who was a center.
Well, Watkins came out of JUCO.
Yeah.
Blake was JUCO.
J.D. Walton was there when they got there.
I think was Cyril. Robert T. Griffin was JUCO.
Yeah.
And I don't know about Ivory Wade. I don't know how he might have been originally.
But J.D. Walton was there when they got there. Yeah. So, and
Troy Baker came straight from Conley.
And if J.D. had been more in the decade, then he certainly would be on this. And I'll tell you, now granted, it wasn't Jared Crick had a great game that day, but J.D. Walton shut down. He had a great game against Ndamukong Suh. Now granted, it was a bad strategy because they let Jared Crick just run wilder on the other side, but Ndamukong Suh didn't hurt the quarterback, which is, again, what you were really worried about.
Yeah, Wade was not a JUCO guy.
Good. He was straight in. Cameron was straight in. I think Cameron came out of the Houston area. Durango was the highest decorated offensive lineman. It would have been, Hudson would have been next.
If he would have been
Hudson, but
healthy enough to play.
At Silsbee, but he never did a chance to play at Texas when he transferred or changed his mind and in that raid of the Baylor's class.
He was set up to be the next big thing. And
I talked to his coach. Man, he thought he could be an NFL guy, yeah.
They had a good connection with that staff at Silsbee, obviously, and they had to fight tooth and nail to sign him at the very end. And I still remember having conversations with Colt, like on the eve of National Signing Day, like, hey, man, what are you hearing on this kid in Texas? Because they had put that full court press on with Charlie Strong, I believe, and it was him and Cam Martin and a bunch of other guys that they were after. But, Baylor held on to him and then lost him, obviously, because of everything that happened. But, he didn't go off to Texas and really even play all that much before he had sickness. He had that bad workout reaction. Remember, he got really sick after one of their workouts, and that basically shut him down. And then I think he had some other injuries. I don't know. He was apparently a really, really good young man from what people who knew him. But he could have been one of those guys. I mean, certainly anybody who has a little bit of talent, you put Randy Clements with them, he's going to make them better. And they had some dog offensive lines, man.
Yeah,
they were
did.
incredible.
Alpha dog, no question about it. All right, thanks to Ideal MRI, small family business right here in Central Texas, trying to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality in today's world. The cost of healthcare has never been more important. There are still, as you just heard what Cameron Kaufhold just said, there are still significant illnesses and injuries. Ideal MRI open to serve you through the difficult time of what we're dealing with now, offering premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, and you'll pay less, sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance. There are no hidden cost as well. And by the way, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. IdealMRI.com. Please remember to follow CDC guidelines, practice social distancing, stay home except for essentials, be safe together, and we'll get all of us through this with IdealMRI.com. We appreciate that. All right, tomorrow we have a player who played at Hawaii under Dave Aranda.
So he can give us some good insight.
Who's from Central Texas to give us a little insight of when Dave Aranda was there. Remember the story yesterday with Phil Bennett, and the response to Phil Bennett interview is exactly what you would expect. Amazing.
Yeah, he was incredible, and if you haven't listened to that, really do yourself a favor and go check that out because he broke down that all-defensive team in a really fun way and just had his typical great anecdotes and just phrases and things like that. I think we all really enjoyed that.
All right, so we appreciate him. Hey, one thing I'm telling you right now, I'm going to talk to Craig about this. Paul last night spent time trying to go through our academic all-stars, the boys nominations. I've done that, and I may have Craig look at that tonight, and we're going to announce the team sometime on Friday's show. I'm not sure when. No matter what, no matter the fact that we were in transition for the last 6 to 7 weeks, no matter that some envelopes were sent back to the high schools from where they were sent originally so we would get the nominations. Some kids are not going to make the team, unfortunately, because some of the envelopes never got back to us because they were sent back to the schools, and a lot of the schools have not been back. Of course, none of them have. So, but some parents have actually contacted me and met me.
They weren't sent back to the schools because the schools are shut down. They weren't sent back to the schools because the schools aren't operating right now.
Yeah, some of the envelopes were taken from where you originally sent them, sent back to the high schools, and they're probably stuck in some P.O. boxes.
Yeah.
Some parents actually found me through direct message on Twitter or phone calls, or they knew somebody that knew me, and we've got their nominations in. We'll announce the team. Bottom line, we're going to announce the 10th Annual Academic All-Stars team on Friday, brought to you and title sponsor, the Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. Hey, thanks for all of our guests today. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoke. I'm David Smoke, our great sponsors. It must be 6, Woodrow's barking. Time to go take a walk. This is SicEm365 Radio.